Welcome back, everyone. We are continuing the action here because it's the playoffs, and why not? We're in the NACE Starleague Fall 2021 League of Legends JV playoffs, and it is the West Conference going up here soon. Cold, but now we got to talk about our matchup. It's our first playoff matchup. Yeah. It is the West Conference. It is the Cal Golden Bears going up against SFU.
Yeah, and University of California, honestly, being the first seed, you give them that benefit of the doubt coming in as the sort of Goliaths to the story. They've got an amazing roster as well. Specifically looking at the mid lane as well in Stabsy, someone you need to watch out for, one of the best mid laners out here throughout the entire NACE JV League, I'd have to claim, even outside of the West Conference. But, you know, you're not going up against no pushovers. Simon Fraser University, they have a very, very powerful bot lane in Ninsasin and Cobb. So we'll have to see how they're going to be able to perform against Issy's Cutie and Rex Required. Because in this grand final, if you're representing that West Conference going through the rest of the NACE Starleague, so being that real like a massive representative, having all that weight on your shoulders, you got to prove your worth.
You do,
and I don't think either of these teams are going to be going out without a very big tooth and nail fight.
Absolutely, and I think, you know, one of the key factors right now for me is the strength in team cohesion. Supports roaming. That it literally is just the meta right now, and that's where I'm going to be looking at how quickly can these teams kind of cohese into this best of three and find that good decision making, and especially around these objectives. Right, we've seen so many times things fumbled around big objective moments and things along those lines, but if these collegiate teams can find control in a map, it gets a lot harder for the enemy team, right? And I think that strangleholds exist for a reason, and especially for University of California.
Oh, definitely. And I think you touched on the right point in the fact that you having a very heavily support roam focused meta, needing to unlock those players and those champions is very crucial. And going into the draft, you have to give all the tools required for that to get into play. Those roaming mids like the LeBlancs that we've been seeing very recently, as well as the Twisted Fates, but also the very safe bot laners as well. Something like those Ezreals that can help give you that safety. Or, you know, if you're feeling a little bit spicy, I know that Jinx is kind of up and coming at the moment, as a matter of fact. If you're looking to
have you seen the stats on like the increased play rate for Jace, Vi, and Jinx? I think it's actually crazy.
It's been insane, and you can definitely tell that some hot fixes have come in since Arcane has been shipped out. But it is something where if you're trying to go away from that roaming support meta and you're trying to create more of a hyper carry and creating a lot of attention down there, Jinx and Aphelios are those other options that can really pack a punch and can be a very strong surprise factor when it comes into the sort of later stages of the game. But with the bans already gone away, you can
look at these bans, man. Yeah. It's all supports. It's literally just supports, and I love it. And the fact that we don't get the Bard for Rex Required, a little sad. I was wondering if it was going to sneak on through. The Kennen also gets thrown in there because, you know, Kennen does what Kennen does.
True.
And it's a very strong pick in the meta. But first pick was Camille for Simon Fraser University on the blue side. And it's looking like a Lee Sin angle for University of California.
Let's keep a very... I like the Lee Sin. Like we said, we want something that has a little bit more maneuverability around the rift to get to those plays faster than your opponent and have that priority without really needing to win lanes per se, be able to just get into that very sneaky avenue of approach and take it out. Then also with like the Camille, I like the Camille too because it's threatening that whole top side focus, right? And immediately with that Zigzag in, this is 100% top side focus. Twisted Fate is still up because as you pointed out, it's support banned across the map. So this is very much looking like Simon Fraser going to play that top side meta, get into a focus of creating a 1-3-1 or a 1-4-1 side push focus, and then try and overwhelm University of California through their control of the map.
Absolutely. And talk about control of the map. We have a Graves locked in as well for Simon Fraser. I absolutely love it for themselves, but as well as the Ziggs. And Ziggs right now into an Aphelios, more than likely, right? We've been seeing Ziggs consistently bot lane instead of mid. Still some flexibility in that avenue, but can be a little bit difficult, right? And I feel like Aphelios has just risen so much in priority for the team fight potential that you can have with him. And paired with the Lulu, that gets even more terrifying.
Oh, definitely. And especially the fact that with the Ziggs being already shown so early, it gives University of California that tell to say, well, we know that they're going to be playing very, very safe bottom lane. They're not going to have a lot of kill pressure on us. So let's go ahead and get that hyper carry, AD carry in Aphelios. And with Lulu paired with it, that is going to be very oppressive when it comes down to fighting around those objectives, around Soul Point for Dragons, and around the Baron as well. So keep a close eye on how well they're going to be able to perform on that with Issy's Cutie and Rex piloting those in the bottom lane.
Very heavy focus into the individual lanes here in the second phase of bans with the LeBlanc Galio by the Golden Bears, and Jax on top of probably another solo laner here, I would expect, especially with what University of California have already displayed for their picks. And it is going to be the Akali.
Finally getting into some solo lane focus, because that's all that's really left for both these teams to try and prioritize. And with them having to blind pick one of those solo lanes, I feel like top is the best opportunity for them here. Something that can either just sort of stabilize or survive underneath turrets. Sion, a great option with that. Not something I would say I've seen recently with these collegiate teams picking up, because there are like the Orns and the Gangplanks that you can play that give a little bit more team presence. And Sion sometimes feels like he's sort of blocked down in that lane until either your team is able to break open bottom lane and then start to move your lane assignments first, or the other way around with Simon Fraser possibly picking that one up as well.
True. I will say it has nothing to do with this, but I have been seeing a lot of Sion in the NEST tournament, the LPL off-season tournament. So who knows? Maybe priority in Sion's raising across the board. Malzahar, though. It's a sneaky pick here for Simon Fraser.
It's an interesting blind, right? Because usually you see these kind of lockdown utility mages there when like the LeBlancs are available, or a more assassin central mid laner is being played. But blind, it leaves a lot to the imagination for the Golden Bears to try and maneuver around. Because yes, Malzahar is oppressive when it comes down to pushing the lane, but if you have something that can freeze the lane efficiently, but can match a little bit faster when it comes down to team fight presence, then you will be able to create a lot of problems here for the Simon Fraser, because you know the Malzahar is straight up going to be either hitting that lockdown R button onto either the Aphelios, or is going to be doing that onto the Lee Sin to deny any engagement. But because of that, it leaves him in that isolated position for someone to drop down whatever they want, i.e. the Victor with his gravity field, to keep him in that position, force the rest of the team fight to happen, and it gives the Golden Bears that pressure to then reassess the situation and play it on their own turf and on their advantage.
So I looked over to the op.gg's, right, and I saw the Soraka for Cobb, and I was like, that would be interesting. I don't know if I want double enchanters. And then let alone he picks it as the last pick for Simon Fraser. So it's going to be a Lulu versus Soraka support. I don't know if necessarily that's going to be the roaming aggressive potential that maybe I was looking for.
Sure.
But I am still excited for when we get to the team fights, right? Especially with the Victor locked in for the Golden Bears. I think that being able to weather the storms of the early game for both these teams in different fashions is going to be super important.
Well, it does feel a little bit bitter, right? In a sense that we were looking for those roaming supports to be unlocked, especially with like the Ziggs coming in so early to create that pressure. But you have like that additional harassment that the Soraka and the Lulu can provide, and once the Lulu is put down, you have to match it with an enchanter. You can't just say, all right, well, we're gonna have Ziggs on his own and then pick up like an Alistar to go roam and then never touch the lane again, because Alistar is going to get bullied by that Lulu in lane. So if he leaves that lane and he leaves for a long time, he's going to fall behind in XP, he's going to fall behind in presence, and then inevitably that Lulu and Aphelios are going to get enough confidence to start oppressing onto Simon Fraser's bottom lane, who's just isolated on his own. this is going to be an absolute bummer and just ruin the whole composition of what you want for the Ziggs to do. So to that end, matching it with those, I like the change up. I'm curious to see how well the composition of UCal is going to be with getting onto this Soraka, because that's a lot of heal, that's a lot of sustain that you're going to be able to provide to this rather squishier composition that Simon Fraser has built up, but still has at least the durability to survive enough for the Soraka to get those heals on, get the silences, and sort of try and slow down the advance that the Golden Bears are going to try and pressure you with the Aphelios and the Scion and the Lee Sin.
I still wonder though how. So one thing with the Aphelios, I feel like, is it's all about positioning, especially later game and especially around objectives, because and timing, right?
Sure.
That's the kind of double-edged sword or double-edged gun. I don't know if that makes any sense. With the Aphelios, it's the fact that you have to have those right times. You have to always be heads up in what the team is planning and what the next steps are ahead of time, and especially against the Malzahar and the likes of a Camille and a Graves, who can just be up in your face, and the target selection from Simon Fraser will be interesting. But for the Aphelios itself, like, this is going to be a key for the University of California to find success. And if it falls pretty much on the ADC shoulders, which I love as an ADC main. But I'm very interested in how that kind of plays out through this series, especially into a best of 3, right? Because it's always so crucial how these little adaptations come through. And to have these kinds of compositions for our first game is always a good step forward for, I feel like, both of these teams, because they kind of got what they were looking for.
I think you're just counting out the fact that you could just cleanse the Malzahar ulti. Like, if Isses doesn't take cleanse here, that's already a big red flag for me. But then immediately after that, you have Mikhail's Crucible that could just be rushed by Rex anyways, and then that's just 2 cleanses already in your back pocket against this Malzahar. And it's not something like a Skarner where where the Malzahar is going to have the tankiness of a Skarner to just like go in, hit the lockdown button and drag you back into his team. He has to expose himself with a little bit of that shorter range of the Malefic Visions and such to get that damage in, hit the suppression, and then sit there for a good 2 seconds with you to where the rest of the compositions from both Simon Fraser and from the Golden Bears to set up and try and appropriate the situation, right? And it's like, if you take a cleanse out of that, and then you're able to jump back in the fight, I feel like UCal just has the superior follow-up and the superior engagement to it. But they have the easier tools to access the backline for sure, and that's where I think it comes down to the mid laners again, right? Because it's like, if you have a proper gravity field to separate the front and the back line from Stabsy, there's no way that this shorter range damage composition of Simon Fraser, which we're looking at just like the Camille, the Graves, and the Malzahar, to get to that back line, which sure, Aphelios is a little bit of that shorter range, but I'm looking at the Victor once it comes down to the very late game fights. Like, you're right on the majority of that. Aphelios is going to be that 1 damage output player for UCal, but Victor, once he gets like 3 items and gets all of those augment upgrades as well for all of his skills, he is insane. So I'll be looking out to see how well Stabsy is going to be able to sort of run the rift when it comes down to piloting this Chemtech in Eventer.
But another big, at least I feel like, big portion of this is going to be the Graves versus Lee Sin matchup.
Right.
And I'm looking to see if there's any aggression early from UCal, especially, and seeing if the Graves doesn't just get let to farm early and get to this next team fight or the next big objective, and be that strong presence that we've seen Graves to be. And that, I feel like, is another way for UCal to really find an early advantage and snowball that into that kind of control you're talking about.
Sure, yeah, because we haven't really touched too much on the jungle matchup in this game particularly, mostly due to sort of that gentleman's agreement, right, of you're going to have Kiosios on this Lee Sin, who's going to be a little bit more proactive in the lanes and in trying to set up those macro plays when it comes down to prioritizing neutral objectives, and it's a team effort when it comes to setting those up. He needs an additional lane member there to do just that. But on the other side of the coin, it's a Graves, like you said. He can just power farm as fast as possible. If he sees a Lee Sin on the opposite side of the map, this Graves is going to do exactly just that and walk into that jungle, check if there's any camp still available, and just continue to power farm to level 6 and get those items to where he can eventually find that Lee Sin and just gun him down, and then be able to take a neutral objective by himself. So to that end, I think that's the early game priority for Simon Fraser here, is to at least give some confidence and give some lane proximity. With like a Camille, that's totally going to be possible. Malzahar, totally possible. The only question in this laning phase is going to be that Ziggs and the Soraka, to see how effective they are into pushing against the Aphelios and the Lulu, and who's going to be able to win that one, because that will determine a lot of how powerful this Graves will be when it comes down to the early mid-game performances, when it comes down to the Mythic cash-ins, and getting his team that advantage that they need to close out this game.
Well, here we are on to Summoner's Rift for the first time of the day. It's the West Conference Playoff Finals. It is the Cal Golden Bears versus SFU, and it's going to be a banger. We got a best of 3 ahead of us, but this is a strong start for both these teams.
Strong start, that is. General 5-point spread for both of them. Neither of these teams looking to get an early advantage within the waking hours of this game 1, but I wouldn't put it past any possible like late vision prodding that either of these teams would be looking for. I'd specifically would favor Golden Bears to try and get something onto one of these buffs or into one of these camps here, just to find where Ricky on this Graves is, just to make sure that you are either going to be matching with that Rift Herald timing, or with that Rift Scuttle timing, excuse me, or are you going to be trying to look to maneuver away from him or see where he's going to be when he tries to look for those counter jungle invades to continue power farm. But as that is, both the junglers opposite sides of the map and already poking and prodding from Izzy's Cuties and Rex.
I mean, you gotta assert dominance at this point. I'm still sad that it's a double enchanter bottom lane, but you know, I'll commiserate with myself. They just don't stop, and they can do this because this is the strength of a Lulu in the early game and that extra damage you get. But also on the back end of it, that's where Cobb is strongest, when you can regen back up and keep the lane topped off so you can keep the presence.
For a bit. You kind of need that level 2 for Cobb, and I'd also say for Izzy's to get that maximum output in the early laning phase, because you need either that heal or you need that additional silence for the Soraka, or you need actual skills for the Aphelios to start harassing with when it comes down to trying to fully abuse the starting guns that they're able to grab up. So, knowing that the Graves for Ricky is starting on this bottom side, they're getting off with this with a little bit of luxury. They didn't check for any general vision overall, but you know, you expect this Graves to be starting on that red side, and knowing that, trying to do as much damage as possible and dropping both Ninison and Cobb down to like 30% health within the first 3 minutes is a pretty appetizing setup for QCS on this Lee Sin to maybe look to force some summoners to happen in this bottom lane in maybe a couple moments.
Yeah, sorry, I just almost died. Trying to get a drink of water. Sorry about that. But we are looking at the early roam timer here for Rex required, and I was wondering if he's going to actually pull the trigger on this.
Yeah, just some priority for
to
Scuttle.
some extent. Well, yeah, exactly. And I was wondering if we were going to see like a full roam maybe from Rex required, but also just keeping that presence in the bottom lane is super important this early.
Well, I don't know if you'd want to do a full roam just yet. I think it would be pretty interesting, especially if Tell didn't happen. You might be able to sort of take some EXP away from Stabsy and give solo over to Issis. But oh my goodness!
Did they just win here, the Gravitum?
Oh wow!
Oh, the damage on the Issis. Oh, flash from Rex required, and that's what you get from a challenger player right there.
Oh, wonderful job from this bottom lane of UCal. I don't think they're done yet. Cobb is
going
for
it. Rex is just going for it. That's 2 kills for the Lulu. Probably gonna die. after Nin has just sealed the deal here, gets the shutdown. So honestly, all things said and done, not too shabby for SFU.
Yeah, I don't feel like I'd be really puffing my chest off too much if I was the Golden Bears there. Yes, you get a first blood. Yes, you get 2 kills, but both of them going over to Rex required and sort of enabling that shutdown gold to come online, and Nincison cashing in on that, it pretty much neutralizes a lot of like the lane advantages. Sure, you're sitting at a place where across the board your team is so far dominating in the CS department, especially with Stabsies here in this mid lane, who's doing a very good job on this Victor. But also with the 2 kills, sure, that's 400, 500, 400, 600 gold right there for Rex required. So immediately gets Ionia boost of lucidity and a fairy charm at that. But Nincison now has at least 600 gold in his pocket where he can look for it, and that's before the Tear of the Goddess. He had to TP for that shutdown anyways. So when it comes down to that next recall, he's going to be able to cash in on a good chunk of equipment. I'd say even possibly a lost chapter when it comes down to it. So having lost chapter in your back pocket when you come to that last recall is going to be very important when it comes down to challenging for these turret plates and for these neutral objectives in the next few minutes.
And so far, what I wanted with Cuse trying to get in Ricky's way is not happening. Up about 10 CS at this point. Not too bad for the Graves farming early. Gonna start the Dragon as well. Something I did want to mention is I'm definitely putting a spotlight on Rex Required and Stabsy in this game, because these are the Challenger players. They're very high up in LP and Challenger as well, so like they definitely are some of the better performing in here. But that's where Collegiate is amazing. That's where the team matters more than the individual players. And yes, they might be winning lane, but it's all about these objective calls. It's all about the macro. And there you go. First Dragon is secured by SFU, and they're going to take the fight afterwards. Cobb trying to get away. There's the Chaos Storm as well. Jinsol in some trouble here. They're stuck in the pit as well, and then has the flash. You've already picked up one for you, Cal. They do have the blast cone to get away. That's all she wrote for this little early skirmish.
And then without really too many members dying away, Jinsol, the only one to lose his life there, but giving it over to Stabsies at that, is overall a success for Simon Fraser. They kind of got that win condition that I was sort of teasing about in the early stages, right? Of the fact that you have a lot of lanes that already give over just passive lane presence and priority, so you can look to solo these neutral objectives early. I think the fact that Nincison and Cobb sort of forfeited that bottom lane to help fast forward that dragon take to make sure that Crucius wasn't going to be in the vicinity to try and steal it, does give that till over, and that sort of comes at the cost of Jinsol's life. But overall, a good success, and going straight to the top side here to see if they can get some pressure for the Rift Herald coming up in just 30 seconds to really just double down and shift to the next gear when it comes to looking to control this early game with Ricky's Graves.
A lot of damage on the Samson though. I mean that was a chunk and a half, and Millennium Fox doing just fine up there on this Scion. No early blood for Ricky either. And as this Graves, we were talking about the farming aspect of it, but you still want to get active and you still want to keep the skirmishing up, right? That's where Graves thrives. But Hughes kind of playing away from the Graves at this point, but still finding success.
I'd actually be in a little bit of luck here if he can catch this bottom lane off guard. He is level 6. He could look for that insect, but he just also doesn't know where Ricky is. Yes, he was on top side, but within this time, you know that reset came in. You know that this Graves is somewhere else on the map, and where exactly that is, you saw that shockwave come out. That is exactly a tell of just we feel Ricky's down here. His camps are up, so he's in the vicinity at the moment. He's actually recalling on a ward there too, so Crucius just getting out.
Oh, that was so cheeky. He does make it out though.
So from here though, it's a lot of motion to this top side of the map with this Rift Herald, and I think this is where we're also a little bit bitter as, hold on, Ricky.
There we go, Ricky's looking for it. The Chaos Storm right back into Jinsol, separates the fight. Now it's a 1v1, but Ricky is this Graves. Still has a lot of follow-up potential. Now here comes Q though. He's turning the fight now, and Crucius misses the Sonic Wave, so won't be able to follow it up, and Ricky is still playing aggressive.
Yeah, he has that clear advantage. push out Stabsy and QCS from the river here, but he doesn't have the confidence to try and push for anything further. He's got a lot of camps here on this top quadrant of the map to go ahead and finish up, so grab those, check how the state of the map is going, and possibly look to pressure for a little bit more. And sort of back on the Rift Herald point, I think this is where it's a little bit sour, right, for yourself, because you were the one out of both of us. I was really trying to promote the roaming support to try and get online, get this macro state into a place of just like constant neutral objective domination. But without that, it's a little bit more awkward because you don't have that fourth man or that additional fifth man when it comes to looking for this Herald early to try and acquire plates early on, and you're just sort of sitting in a 2v2 bottom lane between those. And when you look at the priority between the 3v3 setup on the top half of the Rift, it is very much a coin toss. You don't know who's going to have the inside track between Ricky and QCOs, but Ricky by far wins the damage department, so have the forfeit on that for now, as Isios and Rex, they're looking to try and shed some blood here.
QCOs is here, misses another Sonic Wave. We'll see if later game maybe can pick him up, but at least Isis and Rex Require going to get the back off that they so desperately need at this point. Mega Inferno Bomb back. Nope, they're not going to be able to. I literally just caster cursed them. I'm sorry.
I think
Nin is also just too good.
Also, there was a ward in that push, so there is the fact that he kind of got the big tell from that. They're going for a little bit of a greedier recall and trying to get there early. But, you know, with that, Izzy's Cutie, Rex having to really lay recall on that will give some time for Nincent to damage there. On the other side of the map, Millennium Fox checking on this Herald. He knows that this Graves can solo it. He's found him.
Ooh, on the other side of the Decimating Smash, though, and now he's going to have to turn tail and run as the Herald getting a little bit low. Q is very far away here. Steve Millennium Fox, there's the smite down, and Hextech Ultimatum comes out too. Stabsy is here. Does not have the follow-up damage, but does indeed. Sam's actually dies. I thought Millennium Fox was going to die first, but they just turn it around. He is able to get there in time, and QCOs pulls them away from the Rift Herald pit. Nobody's grabbed the eye yet. The eye disappears, and you, Cal, just run away like bandits with this fight. And there you go, double kill for Stabsy on top of it.
What an amazing fight there from Stabsy and QCOs to finish out that battle. And not to mention Millennium Fox, too, didn't even die there. I thought he was going to have to proc the Zion passive and then sort of try and chase Ricky off of the Herald Eye. But like you pointed out, no one was prioritizing that Herald whatsoever. And unfortunately, we didn't really get the announcer to sort of see who that was, but it was an obvious Ricky.
Oh no, it was Ricky that had it. Yeah, and what's worse is like he committed, not worse, I guess.
Well, like he was sitting there like right next to
Ricky was, he wanted to go help the fight instead of going for the Herald Eye. And you got to think like at this point, they're so far down that Herald is going to be hard to use and to really utilize well. But to an extent, the fight didn't go their way either.
No,
we'll see, because later on, this is where the lockdown, the target selection comes alive for SFU.
Yeah, and that's where it's the whole argument of just like when do you accept cutting your losses. And I just don't think Ricky was in the proper like sort of mindset, or just sort of tunnel visioning there a little bit, just to try and get a kill for a kill. But he could just take a Rift Herald instead for a couple plates. A little bit sour. And speaking of plates, 3 plates have already been taken by Millennium Fox on this Scion, who not only is winning in the CS department by almost a solid 30, but also with those different plates, you know how much gold that's going to be up on this Scion. You can see it even in his inventory as well, that having the Bramble Vest and the Kindle Gem good to go, or the Bomby Cinder, that is. They just look the same to me at this point. But you know he's going to cash in on that Mythic very, very shortly, and that's where Samza, who we were sort of promoting this whole like Camille topside, want to get the side lane pressure going. With the Malzahar, of course, that's not as possible because of how well Stabs has been able to sort of counter that point. Is a little bit of a room for concern, and speaking of room,
we got a double fight here. Samza's getting dove top, but there is also a catch out on Stabsy. But in this fight here, Samza actually outplays it back under tower, but there you go. QCOs does not miss after 13 minutes, and here we go. That is 1 kill over. And also, Stabsy did not die to the catch out by Ricky.
Nope. that second fight off screen was just Stabsy seeing if he could disengage from Ricky and Jinsol.
He popped the ulti. I'm pretty sure he forced the reset there. But now bot lane, Wild Growth just used to get the knockup. This dude is ruthless. As Rex required, as flexing the muscles, helping Isis get a kill, helping Stabsy get a kill. And this is a snowball and a half, all rolled down the hill by a giant golden bear.
Well, it's not winter just yet. We're still standing in the fall season at the moment, and it is definitely just all the leaves are dropping left and right here on the trees of Simon Fraser. This is
where's the bear reference?
The bear reference? I don't know. They're stacking up on the honey from Simon Fraser's
there you go, there you go.
For hibernation for winter. But besides the puns that are absolutely unbearable at this point, you have to be looking at this 7K or 6K gold lead, almost approaching onto 7 for the side of UCal, and thinking, all right, when do the floodgates really break open, right? Because yes, they're pretty much like broken and shattered, but you don't have any of the turrets just yet in mid lane done. You just got your first brick there in the bottom side of the map, which unlocks Rex required and Issy's onto the rift. So how quickly will the rest of the turrets fall? That will be the question that will be answered, honestly, fairly shortly here. I think Fox is looking to break open at the top side.
Rex required is just so cheeky with the gameplay. Just not showing. Maybe Samzo wanted to commit to that fight, but they will just get this top tower. And that's even more pressure unleashed for UCal. And the fact that they just have the one tower of the mid lane still standing strong to defeat is something that they're going to have to focus on here. But now that the team composition has been unlocked, it's really easy to do so as Dragon Rage Kick comes out and saves Samzo for the moment.
Yeah, I'm not sure if PCOS intended to kick Samzo over the wall, but we'll just go with it for now as sort of a diffusive Dragon's Rage. So, looking at the dragon spawning in a minute, that's gonna be a while for Simon Fraser to have any sense of confidence here. Ooh.
TP, use the TP.
No,
oh, he's just gonna turn it. Oh my god! They have families! Jinsol! This is a 1v3 turning into a 1v4. Stabsy gets the collateral damage by Ricky, but now Cobb might go for the kill into Stabsy. See Ricky finish it off here eventually, maybe. Here comes the knockback, and the bomb not enough. Stabsy!
Oh.
Stabsy! What is happening? And Cusios is here to wipe them up. Millennium Fox is also there. Gets the knockup, gets the kill. Oh my god, Christmas has come early, and it's all for UCal.
I was asking myself, you know, when were the floodgates gonna break? Like, just absolutely.
They've already busted.
That was it. That was it right there. Stabsy just took the Death Star and just shot the gate wide open.
Jesus, that's
absolutely
insane.
That
still loses the stats. So shame, Stabsy.
I think this is the first time I think we're gonna be able to have the NACE Starleague on a YouTube highlight reel. For Stabsy's YouTube channel. I think that's the first achievement that we're getting so far.
I like it.
But my goodness.
Oh my goodness.
That was very well done. And you know, there's nothing else to say, but that was just mechanical outplays. It's just Stabsy's knew the limitations of Victor and the champion, and knew what he could provide with the Ludus Tempest. And he hasn't even gotten to the Archangel's staff. He's still sitting sort of on just trying to stack it up as it is. Just, you know, almost there. You know, 3-3-3, close to 350. Pretty good for himself. But yeah, grab this Rift Herald, just drive a wedge straight into this mid lane and close it out. Because at this point, this is where we go back to that whole circle of just how quickly can you close these games. And with this kind of composition, with the composition of a Lulu and a Aphelios, this is fine. For like side lanes, I know you can win these Stabsies. I've just seen it before.
He's turning it with the Chaos Storm. There comes the Unstoppable Force as well. And Ricky, oh, that did so much damage. Didn't get the knockup, but here comes Moonlight Vigil to finish him off. And Isis is able to get the killing spree now with the Aphelios. They're pushing top lane. They are going to smash through this tier 2 tower.
And with all of this, bottom side of the map is just trying to
just
catch
abandoned.
up.
Nobody's backing. Yeah. Nobody's doing anything about this.
This was very much once I saw that rinse and repeat again from Ricky and Sansa up there on the top side of the map, you get immediate flashbacks of what had just happened 30 seconds prior, and you tell yourself, okay, well, Simon Fraser is going with like reckless abandon to trying to find a shutdown and trying to get that side lane control back online. Well, no, because that's still a little bit of a it's still a bit of a tough cookie to crack. No, Samza is intentionally dropping
They're just gonna
this.
let it. Yeah. I was gonna say. I mean, that's fine for SFU.
Just don't let it charge on the turret. Don't let it
like
okay.
the thing for me is like you still see 2 out of the 5 members missing, and you have 4 or 5 at the top side. I figured they would commit to it, but now they're gonna commit onto Nin in transition, and QCO's is just ridiculously strong. The wish comes out, but there you go. The combo's too lethal.
Yeah. No, leave a Ziggs out to dry, and he'll do exactly just that. Uses a little bit too short, though. Even with Samza trying to find some sense of failsafe and control in this top side of the map, allowing that inhibitor to go to sort of catch up with Armon, it is too far gone at this point. 10,000 gold in the lead here for the Golden Bears of UCal, and already knocking on the doors of the other 2 lanes inhibitors too. Again, it's that whole sense of this composition that UCal has the durability to survive turret dives they're looking for, and are also playing the map a lot better than that of Simon Fraser, who Simon Fraser's composition was all about playing the map, about having a Graves that is everywhere and anywhere, and having that side lane control with the jungle presence for Samza's Camille to really oppress anyone who tries to challenge him. We didn't get that Camille because of how well Millennium Fox did on this Scion in the laning phase. And now with how Stabsies has survived 2 3 versus 1 ganks, pretty much, like put a little asterisk there because of how quickly the rest of UCal is able to collapse on these advantages or on these fights. There's really no win condition left for Simon Fraser to sort of have access to themselves. They sort of need UCal. Really, they definitely 100% need UCal to trip over their own shoelaces multiple times over, and then also like probably just take a big hibernation nap as well for Simon Fraser to get back to this game. So I think Simon Fraser is looking to see what other errors UCal is going to tell them that they have while they're in the lead, and then try and abuse those points when it comes down to game 2 here. And this is where this big Baron fight could be one of those errors on how UCal manipulates this bubble.
They're taking so much damage from this Baron, though. They have held so long, and now they're just getting engaged on by SFU. They've got the Baron now, and they're turning the fight. The gold lead's just too fat, and they decide to pull the trigger. SFU are in the way, and they will be taken out one time. Oh, I thought Millennium Fox might die. Samza is actually buying a little bit of time, but this is UCal marching into the base, TPing also to the top side for Stabsy, and he's just putting the finishing touches on the base for SFU of this game number 1. But that raises the question of how do you turn this around? On the blue side for SFU, do you change sides? Do you go for different bans? There were a ton of bans towards Rex required, but still popping off on the Lulu early on and being that aggressive stance even on the Enchanter. There's a lot of questions for SFU.
And as Simon Fraser's Nexus does get taken down by UCal in game 1, that is concluding the first game of this best of 3 series, though a dominating presence at that and a dominating showing from UCal, and to how they were able to snowball not only their bottom side of the map, just how oppressive Rex required was on that Lulu, but also with Stabsy, who played something that was very just lie low and just control the mid lane, and then just decide to win every single side lane fight there from there on out. So very well done from them. Though to touch on your point as you had sort of approached on, I feel like one of the big things for me was just to readdress that draft and stick to those win conditions, even if you're not getting all of the tells from your opponent. Twisted Fate was available instead of Malzahar. You could have looked for that to do the TF Camille, or even a Galio Camille if you're looking to try to fill that. But yeah, that's just only one of the drops in this bucket that you could sort of drink from the side of Simon Fraser to sort of revive themselves and prepare for game 2.
And we are here for a wonderful day of action.
Yeah, and what a wonderful sight it was in the very first game. And honestly,
For one side,
for one side at the very most. And honestly, it was a grisly situation that Simon Fraser was in against the Golden Bears.
That's
but
you.
Hey,
that's you.
That's how it is when you go up against the challengers of Stabsy and Rex, because they really put on a masterclass on how the new meta is changing. And I think this is also a great teaser as well. Into what the preseason is going to offer us, with a lot of more of the utility mages not having just the lane priority to give over to the compositions, but also team fight prowess, and back into the sort of season of late game team fight ADCs. Sure, that's been around for a little while, but the majority of season 11 was a lot of just like Lucian priority in mid lane and marksmen sort of wearing the hats of other other laners and other positions to sort of give themselves that viability in the earlier stages of the game. But with that being said, we also have to look at the other ones on the Rift, and I feel like one of the other big standout here was actually in that top side of the map with Millennium Fox, who did very well on the Scion. Wasn't something that like made any of those impressive plays because you are playing tank duty, you're stuck on that, so you don't get to make highlight reels in game 1. But I'm curious of what is going to be drawn out in this game 2 when it comes down to either switching of sides or switching of game plans with what Simon Fraser needs to change up in their draft.
But the question is, where does that change up come from? Because I do feel like the bans were pretty solid from the side of Simon Fraser last time around, and especially the focus towards Rex, who obviously showed us his skills. He had 3, or I believe it was 3, but in total I think there were 5 support bans across both sides, and a lot of these champion pools for both these supports are flexible, and they both play a lot of the same champions. And I'm wondering if that still takes priority after the game 1 that we saw for Simon Fraser.
I think the draft, the picks and bans specifically, like you were pointing out, was where I think Simon Fraser hit the mark for the most part, to try and isolate and suppress as much of that domination that Rex has with Itzy in that bottom side of the map. Because that is where you're going to be sort of leaking the most. You could try and do that, continue to ban that bottom side of the map and then get that winning bot lane into something that's more aggressive in that own right, and sort of double down on that disadvantage that you're playing into, But also, the other part for me is more of just sticking to your guns when it comes down to those drafts. Because it's like, you go Camille first into an oppressive jungler that has high damage output. It just gives that tell of like you're going to be focusing on that top side. UCal is going to take that bait. You also have to play with it. Don't just blind a Malzahar that is going to be dealing with something in that mid lane and doesn't have that priority to just detach from the farmer and then focus elsewhere on the map. Look for the rises. Look for the twisted fades. The Gallios, which aren't that strong in the meta per se when it comes down to flavor,
and it was banned,
but has that
well.
priority, right? Also, it was banned out last time around. So it's like, give yourself a little bit more accessibility in the early game. I think is like the biggest thing for them, because leaving everything else up to the wins and leaving other things in the hands of your opponent to make just creates a very passive composition and a passive team that doesn't get anything done. And I think that's where they'll have their biggest issue. But in a sense of glimmering hope, and I think this what prepares us for the draft as well, is helping out Ricky. I think Ricky was the shining star of Simon Fraser in that game 1. He did very well on the Graves and trying to get his power farming online, trying to get onto those neutral objectives, try and get those early advantages ahead. So all he needs is that extra bump and that support from the rest of the team to really become that early game jungler to dominate the rest of the map.
And getting that early, lane presence as well. I felt like that was a little bit lacking. The farming is good, but I still feel like you need to have the presence as a jungler right now, especially with the comps that we had in the lanes, and putting a little bit of fear into UC Berkeley, because they were playing no holds bar in the lanes, and it showed beautifully as they were able to crest that into those team fight wins consistently. So I'm very, very excited for the bounce back of Simon Fraser University.
Oh, sure. And they'll have a chance to come on back and see if they can create maybe an additional win con within there, and also maybe get some side lane control this time around too, because
Mhm.
of how well Stadzy was able to run it through. Though there's not much else to say outside of how well the Golden Bears were able to take over that game, right? It is this situation now where you're left with not a lot of room for error when it comes down to winning the second game, getting that early
Mhm.
game prio on lock, and then transitioning into a strong mid game performance as well against the composition that the Golden Bears will eventually try and draft up against you is already a daunting task. And I think the other big thing
Yeah.
as well was when we were sort of wrapping up that game one, and I was saying, all right, well, Simon Fraser's trying to at least exhaust as much time as possible to give room for errors to be told to them from the composition of UCal, and then say, all right, we found those mistakes. We found where they can sort of try and ego on us. We can use this to exploit and abuse when it comes down to game two. Immediately after that, we came into a Baron fight of the objective, and they just got wiped. And there was just like, all right, well, they took a lot of damage from Baron, but they still just dominated us with a 10,000 gold lead. So what can we take away from that just slight instance to try and improve ourselves in this best of three?
I feel like if you take away the Lee Sin as well going into game two,
Sure.
It obviously there's a lot that Kusios can still play, but the Lee Sin definitely was able to enable. Was an enabler for the team itself, for UCal. So I wonder again. It's all speculative until we get into the second game, which hopefully will be soon.
Yeah.
But the fact is, like, there are so many strong points, and as you said, trying to find those strong points and like how can you deal with that and change that up going to game number two. But when there's so many strong points, it gets a little bit more difficult, right? And that's where I feel like I want to transition the conversation into comfort for Simon Fraser University. And yes, that can be banned away to an extent, but I still feel like comfort is going to get Simon Fraser into a game three here. As we do see draft has started, UC Berkeley on the blue side, Simon Fraser University on the red side. Kennen is the first ban, was missed, but it is Kennen. And the Thresh following it up for UC Berkeley. Rel and the Nautilus banned away against Rex again for Simon Fraser University.
We'll see how any adaptations that either of these teams are going to dish out in game two. Though already the big side, well, with that Lucian ban, that's a little interesting to see where the rest of Simon Fraser is going to be looking to prioritize. Because like looking across their champion pools, it's really only Ninsin and not even like there's no flex, from Samza or Jinsel. So like that's just straight up an insistent ban of saying, all right, if you're trying to go aggressive this time around, we're not going to give you that luxury to do so. And Simon Fraser banning the Ziggs away from UC Berkeley says that they want to play aggressive. They don't want someone to just sit passive and just harass from afar, and they also don't want that Ziggs in their hands either. They didn't succeed on it in game one. They don't want to give that capability to UC Berkeley to do that as well. But Aphelios immediate first pick lock-in, man, it's fight fire with fire here in this second game already.
I mean, Aphelios just right now in the meta is so ridiculously strong. You're seeing it consistently picked first in a lot of areas, and especially if you know what kind of composition you want to go for, right? This has been a bit of an answer in the Xayah for Simon Fraser, at least in the meta right now, but I do want to see what they pair it with here.
Remind me with the first ban, I believe it wasn't a Rakan, was it?
It was Kennen.
It was Kennen.
So so Rakan was banned last game.
Yeah, but it wasn't this time.
By UC Berkeley on the red side. Yeah.
I would have felt like you could have just Xayah Rakan there, but this is sort of dropping down a little bit of a T, saying like go in Xayah first. If you don't pick Rakan here, we're most likely going to go with it if it's a good matchup. And it gives that capability to have some winning. Yep, that's how it is. Like to wrap the point up, it's like you throw the gauntlet. It's either you pick Rakan here, or we're gonna pick it if it's a good matchup. Yeah, boom, right? And UC Berkeley is just like, alright, so we're gonna take the Rakan. This is so where.
Did you see how bot lane went last? That's what they're saying.
Yeah, it's like,
are you sure you want to do this?
It's like the it's like that double check when you're like downloading some like you're downloading a new game and it's like, are you sure you want to download this game? And you're like, yes, download this game, please.
Yes, I do.
But yeah, at least Simon Fraser in this position is just like a little bit of an awkward state. It's like you saw the win con. It almost reminds me of like last game draft where it's just like, okay, cool, Camille Graves, where's your roaming mid laner, and then they just have like something within the draft just sort of mixes it up. It's like blind pick Miles, big question mark, just leaving Rakan open for UC Berkeley. Kind of a big question mark. I kind of understand because it's like, yeah, you know, you could go with other things. Though, nonetheless, to break it down, we are having that change up of Xin Zhao from what Ricky played was the Graves previously. A little bit more lane presence, a little bit more early game dueling. So I like this switch up because it just sort of invests into the jungle here for Simon Fraser to try and double down on that one.
So I will say, very interested at the Leona pick. And want to see how that kind of works out for Simon Fraser. At least the information that we have, op.gg is right. It's not the most perfect information. There's always other accounts, but Leona definitely not one of the most played, not in the top 10 at least for Cobb. So I want to see if they just need that engage, because right now they have a ton of CC on their composition, especially the fact that they insta-locked the Shen going into the second phase. I think they have a pretty good idea of what they want to accomplish, but the Camille for UC Berkeley is definitely going to throw a wrench into the works.
Oh, for sure. Though the Camille, I feel, is much more of just the counterpoint to what Simon Fraser is wanting right now. Because everything Simon Fraser has on the table at this moment is, when it comes to level 6, and sometimes even before level 6, if they win a bottom lane trade between Xayah Leona and Aphelios Rakan, if Simon Fraser wins out on that, and Ninsasin and Cobb have that pressure to look for a dive, everything in Simon Fraser's toolbox right now is built to win that dive and have an efficient dive and get out. And then just make this Xayah an unstoppable machine. Though to that end, that's where the Camille comes into play of saying, okay, cool, well, if you're going to be doing all of that, well, Shen's going to be away from the lane for a good while. Let's go ahead and add a good side lane fighter that can split push this game, create a 4-1 situation, and then force this Shen, who is going to inevitably lose out on that fight, to then start to look elsewhere when it comes down to the mid late game performances. Though I do also have that question mark thing in the back of my head as well.
Is that real? So, can we get confirmation from
we need to check
production?
That. I don't want
to see if that's real, because that would be a very interesting addition to the composition.
Okay,
it's Seraphine. Okay, that makes 1,000% more sense. I was like, Simon Fraser, I don't know what you got cooking up in the crock pot, but it's a little spicy.
This looks like a TFT comp more than anything. I was just
yeah. Been playing a little too much Set 6. Yeah. But the fact is, the Seraphine locked in there does provide a lot of flexibility in the mid lane. Maybe not that kill pressure, and I do worry after we saw the Victor pop off last game for UC Berkeley. But it does provide that safety in the team fight that Simon Fraser is obviously looking for with the composition they have.
For sure, because it's a front-to-back team, 100% focus on the Xayah for Ninsasin to be that success point and be that high damage output player, which in comparison to Aphelios, I feel like Xayah takes a little bit longer to ramp up and get to that stage to be there and be that one man, that one champion damage output. Though, back to your point on sort of this Seraphine Victor matchup, Seraphine doesn't have, if you can agree with me on this one, Seraphine doesn't have that good of a lane pushing priority in the early game, and has a smaller base health pool than that of Malzahar. So
what you're saying is it's gonna be a lot like last game.
I feel like we're gonna have another Stabsies highlight reel here coming up fairly shortly, but at least this time around, we're also going to have a Millennium Fox highlight reel, because now we have that fighter against tank matchup switched here for the top lanes of UC Berkeley and for Simon Fraser. So overall, pretty good draft here for UC Berkeley once again into game 2. Yeah. And I feel like it's just another tale that has been retold here for SFU. It's just, they had cooked up a draft, 4 out of 5 of those picks tell a story, and then that 5th pick
is just sort of wedged in there as sort of a finishing touch, but it doesn't really fully fit. It's like putting a circle. It's like putting the circle block in the square hole and be like, yes, I solved the puzzle. But it's like, yeah, just because the circle block fit doesn't mean it's supposed to go there.
I will say, the bar of execution is a little bit lower, I feel like, for the composition this time around for Simon Fraser, and I think that's going to help them a lot. But they still have that, target selection. We gotta kill this target. Perfectly done with their composition. They have so much CC. They can layer so much of that as well, and that's what I'm looking for now. Yeah. Yes, the bar of execution is lower, but the execution still has to be there, and you have to be able to take those team fights front to back.
Yeah, it's tough because not even now, because even last game, you didn't have the tools of the Golden Bears to actually jump onto the back line. It's like they had the Scion, the Lee Sin. Yes, the Lee Sin could technically get there, but he had to wiggle through a lot of the short-ranged maneuver, sort of stopping points that was in Simon Fraser's composition. But now they have a Camille, and they have a Leona, or excuse me, not Leona, a Rakan that can immediately get to your back line and then cause some havoc. And thankfully, you do have that Xayah there for an instant to be that disengaged point and to be able to peel for themselves a little bit better. Though that leaves everyone else up to the tables of that doesn't feel like how the fight would want to go for Berkeley, though it feels like that's what you want for Simon Fraser for sure. It's like, yes, use all of your crowd control, use all of your engagement on the Xayah so that the Seraphine is left in the open to hit that encore, get everyone on lockdown, so when Xayah descends from her Feather Storm, everyone is just immediately in a kill zone and you get that massive one champion DPS powerhouse. To that end, of course, it's front to back situation. So that is only counting in 2 members of the composition that Simon Fraser has. You still have the Xin Zhao, you still have the Leona to sort of see how they're going to want to play out the fight, and even the Shen, who is inevitably going to do his darndest to survive these side lane pressure points against this Camille Millennium Fox. So hopefully Samza has some good some good laning phase results when it comes down to either farm pressure, or if he's able to get some of those dives off in the bottom lane without giving too many plates or giving too much pressure and experience over to that top side of Millennium, then this could be a recipe for success for Simon Fraser to come back and bring us to a game 3.
But that's where I want to dive a little bit more into the jungle matchup and the fact that we do get to see the Lee Sin again for UC Berkeley, which was a huge driving force as well in their early game successes. But this time you have the Xin Zhao, and still a lot of skirmishing potential, a lot of clearing potential there, but I'm expecting that Simon Fraser University want to approach the second game with more aggression, more presence from that jungle role. And I feel like at that level 6 mark, that's where everything really turns on. You have the Stand United to come in those jungle skirmishes to really turn the tides. And it's all about timing those things correctly and making sure that the communication is clear, because that's something that I felt like was a little bit misfortunate for them in that first game. But again, back to the other side for University of California, or UC Berkeley rather, they still have a lot of that lethality that we saw from them in the last game, but I feel like it's honed a little bit more directly this time.
Yeah, I think yes, yeah. Just sort of rerunning through the compositions in my head on that one, and I think you're on the right point with that, because having it honed down is going to be so much more beneficial for them coming into this early game, and doing exactly what they need to do with getting Ricky online and getting that priority in the jungle. Is that is, I think, the best outlet for them to succeed in this game. Yes, we can hype up as much as possible of how volatile this bottom lane is going to be, but at the end of the day, if you don't have that 3rd or 4th man to come in and secure those tower dives for the bottom lane of Simon Fraser to start getting those kills, to start shutting down Rex and Itzy, and to then get some gold onto your carry players, then every other win condition becomes a moot point, because, well, yeah, sure, well, if your jungle doesn't lead on, then yeah, the bot lane doesn't succeed as much, or you don't get that neutral objective pressure that you need so much, and you then start losing resources out. You start bleeding resources. You start losing structures, and inevitably we might get that reciprocation. And I think looking into this game as we're loading onto the Rift, if I'm looking at Ricky, sure, you don't have the greatest priority to take these neutral objectives as quickly, but rinse and repeat. I think Ricky's performance in focusing on these dragons, getting that lane priority for his team sort of through a indirect way, is going to give so much for Simon Fraser in this second.
Indeed, as we will see Summoner's Rift loaded up. All said and done. SFU, the backs against the wall here in the finals of the West Conference. As UCal looking to step away with a quick victory today. They're already up 1-0. This level 1, though, from SFU is trying to get a little spice. Will be spotted out by the ward by Isis.
So that is a creative word there from Itzy, but also just a bit of bitter news for Simon Fraser. Their level 1 invade. But, you know, you can always just stick around. You can always chill out, say, all right, we may have not gotten the first blood, but let's force some vertical jungle. Let's make sure Ricky is always on this bottom side of the map to always punish Isis and Rex when it comes down to trying to challenge these 2v2s in the bottom lane and look for getting this Ninsis and Zaya ahead early, because like I mentioned before, Zaya is going to take a little bit longer than the affiliates to really feel the full brunt of force when it comes down to those team fight powers, and using a jungler and having that third man down there to really access that and sort of unlock it down the line is going to be huge. But already,
oh, Jinsoul doing a lot of damage to Stabsy there. It was a cheeky little move from Kusios, trying to get the invade there, but Jinsoul and Samza were right there to support Ricky. Now bot lane, this is getting engaged on. That early damage from the Zaya is pretty strong.
Able to dish out. Oh my goodness. With Issy's looking to try and get that trade there on a half health. I'd say overall, this is where I'd say tell the tale to Ricky. Looking for some attention. Honestly, here's a gamble. Do all your camps bottom side. Don't even look to the red side. Is at least us as the commentators and as the viewers know, your red buff is gone. So get to that level 3 off the wolf camps and check on this bottom lane and look to break it open immediately. Just be like immediately level 2 gank. Just level 2 gank, level 3 zids out. That's huge. And this could force some great summoners there and force some trouble for Berkeley later down the line.
Ricky going for a little bit of an invade here. Will be finding Kusios very soon, but it's Rex required and Isis that are on the roam at least. Rex is going to find Ricky here in the transition. Not having any backup. Actually won't be spotted by Ricky.
Goodness.
Oh no. But Isis. Oh, okay, there you go. I was going to say, you got to save your ADC, but Ricky goes straight in. The flash is available for Isis, but he can't get out. First blood goes to SFU. Cal do not want to let this go, though, and they're trying, but Rex dies. That's a double kill for Ricky, who dies quickly after. Now TP committed by Samza, but too late. Does SFU come out on top with first blood and 2 kills?
And very well done there by Ricky to turn that fight around. Unfortunate from Rex missing that great entrance on the recon to start that entire fight up, but off of that mistake, Simon Fraser is able to manipulate and force that fight back into their favor and be able to come out on top. Wonderful start here into game 2 to get that early advantage online. Though both of the top laners didn't even participate in either of those kills, any of the kills. They might be able to get one kill.
He does have smite. He still dies. Didn't actually use the smite. Rip. Ricky gets the scuttle crab, and SFU are on a roll in this game number 2
already. And I was going to be a little bit bitter with the fact that both Samza and Millennium Fox used their TPs and got nothing out of either of them, so they're both TP down here within the first 4 minutes. Though, getting that assist there for Samza, that 3rd kill of the game for Simon Fraser, give them a lot of pressure to start abusing here in the early stages of the game to force UC Berkeley into a room of uncomfortability.
Yeah, and this is a completely different look for Cal going into game 2, right? They were constantly in control last game. From almost seemingly minute 1, right? The lanes were going well for Cal. But in this game, it was that early skirmish decision. It was the greed a little bit in the pathing for QCOs going up towards the top side that was punished by SFU, and that's the kind of communication we wanted. Now Isis has to flash away. Grand Entrance came in. Nice blade collar, and they just get the kill for it. Meanwhile, Stabsy dies in mid lane. It is tragedy right now for Cal.
It's an absolute riot that's being run here by both members, both jungler and of support here for Simon Fraser. Cobb is getting right on top of Issy and is forcing all of the summoners to be popped immediately. And it's really Rex who's having trouble here on this Recon to try and lock down any kind of damage from the side of SFU. And this is that whole gamble, right, of during the draft of you pick Xayah first, but you leave the Recon open to the field, and you sort of challenge the Golden Bears saying, all right, you either take this Recon away from us and we don't get the Xayah Recon, or we're going to grab it and we're going to be able to have a little bit more success in the bottom lane. But I think overall they're winning that gamble, that risk that they took, and having this Leona really just across the map and causing havoc is doing wonders for them in this early game and setting up for the Dragon, which is available. I feel like if you can find that tell of the recall timers, you could just go ahead and just take this Dragon for free right here, right now, and then prepare for the Rift Herald in the next couple of minutes.
Not too much priority for Cal in that early Cloud Dragon. Meanwhile, priority in mid lane, though, the CC chain. That's exactly the beautiful execution you want to see. Cobb gets the kill, so that's a little bit unfortunate. But you'll take it as SFU are up 6-1 at 7 minutes into the game.
We take those. Already 2,000 gold in the lead as well. A lot of that gold is just piled on top of Ricky and Jinsol here. Also got a little bit of a killing spree started up top as well. Here we go. Dragon's gonna get started up. You have all the lane priority in the world between mid and bot lane to go ahead and take this objective 3. There. It's a question of where else do you look now? Sure, you've got a little bit of time to go ahead, catch up on some farm, look to cash in on some items here and there for a couple of your members, and then push forward for the next neutral objective. But I want to see some potential turret dives here. I feel like at this point Simon Fraser is in a place where they can look for this Herald, dive in, and get some success. I think Sam's is fine. He's got flash.
Yeah, I was going to say, Sam's is not going to die here. I don't think this is going to go well for Millennium, who just dies. There's a 1-for-1 trade in the top side.
If you were just maybe a couple pixels closer into that turret, I think you got a 2-for-1 there, because QCOS does not have a big health pool, and that turret hits, and it hits hard. So that overall great success there on the top side of the map. Sam's in.
Oh, Cobb's going for the Hex Flash play here.
Yeah, this looks like it. I think they're just waiting for Ricky to show up, but Ricky just got spotted on a ward.
Stabsy playing pretty soft here in the mid lane right now. Will ward the wall, sees Cobb. Cobb spotted out. We'll have to back away from that roam timer, but honestly, Nin is feeling perfectly fine in bot lane, farming it out by himself.
Yeah, so he's totally fine as it is. This is where now we've got the roaming supports online, looking for this Herald play, and even being down, you're being down 2,000 gold and 5 kills here. I feel like UC Berkeley needs to forfeit this Herald and just focus on trying to stabilize these lane conditions and get to a point where they can at least get to their mythics within a reasonable time. Because if they try and look for the higher risk play of challenging this Rift Herald, it could just lead to more disaster. It could lead to a bigger gold lead for Simon Fraser. And for Simon Fraser, that's nothing but up. Like, even if no one challenges you at this Rift Herald, which had happened, you have this Herald in the back pocket to try to punish any more plays. Let me see if we can get a kill. I can't on Samza.
Yeah, Samza this time probably not gonna be as lucky. Oh no! Misses the combo for the Lee Sin, but doesn't matter. The Millennium Fox gets on the board with a kill of their own.
Trying to get this side lane online. at least for some glimmer of hope and win condition coming into mid game. So that is still a far off tale. But overall, you know, got a kill for yourself each, but a 30, almost 40 CS advantage there on the top side for Millennium Fox is nothing to scoff at when it comes down to cashing out on those mythics early, trying to get that split push online. We're back to this bottom lane once again, seeing if Simon Fraser can start getting some kills for Ninsasid, who has been reaping a lot of the rewards of the success of Simon Fraser in the early stages, but none of the economic advantages when it comes down to wanting to cash in early on those mythics, getting this Azaya online. Overall, I think you're pretty happy here with the slight advantage that you have and being able to cash in and see if you can start breaking open this map with Rift Troll that Ricky has is really the next step of that.
It is, and he's pathing down towards bot lane, so I wonder if they're going to try to get in a little bit of this gold since his support has taken all the gold so far.
Yeah.
Cobb doing pretty well for himself, but a lot of bodies hovering down towards this bottom side for SFU. I mean, the damage profile is literally nin. And I mean, Ricky to some extent, but Jinsoul does do a decent amount. Also is starting to stack up the Dark Seal, but they are definitely putting all their eggs in the late game Xayah carry.
Well, they need to at least, because like still you have that whole early base damage spike that a Xin Zhao and a Shen and Leona bring to the table. But yeah, you need to get gold from Xayah to have that team fight capability that is really required for this Simon Fraser team later down the line. And Rex required says, you know what, bot lane doesn't matter, it's top lane that we need to get rolling.
Oh my god. I mean, they're just targeting the global.
Yep.
And Stand United not going to be able to be used on yourself there.
So
is this actually getting engaged on by Ricky? It's a little aggressive there, but I like it. They're going for the dive here. It is. QCO's pretty healthy. TP now coming down. It's 4v3 after all. Rift Herald was spawned up. Gonna get the charge off here as well. Onto the tower. There's the engage, and Isis just dies outright to Jinsoul. Cobb flashes over the wall. Encore comes out. Tower not dead yet, hitting Nin for a decent chunk of health. Next wave is coming in as well, so it looks like SFU might want to just back off of this. TP for Jinsoul is available if he wants to commit back to the fight, but it looks like SFU will pull off.
We're pulling off for this dragon, which is spawning in 10 seconds, and I think with all the resets that are going to be coming in both CS as well. And Issy's just sprinting to the mid lane to try and catch some of the farm there, while Stabsies is stabilizing this bottom lane. Should just be a second dragon there for the members of Simon Fraser to see what this soul is going to be. And overall, you know, Simon Fraser was trying to hunt for a little bit more in that bottom lane turret dive, seeing if they could really look for not just one kill, but also a turret as well. So I feel like UCal really was able to defend that turret dive efficiently when it comes down to what they were able to have lost in a sense, right? Like if they lose a turret and lose more than one person, that is a huge boon for Simon Fraser when it comes down to sort of the different investments that both these teams are looking to get going in this early to mid game.
I will say, I'll make the point after this. Cobb gets caught by the two, but goes for the re-engage here. Ricky is right behind him. Rex just goes in with the charm, able to get away. So I will say that the unique thing for me, and what I'm actually really liking at this point for Cal, is they realize there is serious strength in a side lane presence in this game. Because SFU are all inning onto the team fight comp. We already said it's the front to back. You've got to find that execution. But if Cal find a strong Millennium Fox in the side lane, oh, we got the double knock up here as well. They might just die. Encore comes away, hits two. Rex wants to get back into the engage, but nice Aphelios, 200 years, all the memes. They just get obliterated. Here's the hashtag ultimatum, Stand United, not in time. And the execution comes through for Cal, because Jinsoul actually looking for some smoke on a Millennium Fox, but not able to find the kill. Does not die either though, so at least he gets out.
Yeah, he's able to get away, but that is a huge win there for UCal. The Golden Bears are able to cash in on a good amount of shutdown gold. The only one that they need left is Jinsoul's Seraphine with that 300 that we have on the bounty. But overall, getting a gank, getting sort of a Fnatic push more or less into Simon Fraser's own jungle at that means that not only are you starting to win back some of the tempo and the map control over to your side, but also you're able to get some repercussion when it comes to winning out after that fight. You can cash on some of the jungle camps that are still left up. You can drop some wards down to have some late vision as you reset. And as we check in on the gold now, it's still a 2,000, just actually over a 1,000 gold lead, excuse me, for the side of Simon Fraser. So you've started to close the gap a little bit here for the side of UCal, but anything within that 1,000 to 5,000 gold deficit is nothing to worry about too much, just because of how well you start to control like either the side lanes, like we mentioned with UC Berkeley, or how the team fights and neutral objective setups are for Simon Fraser. Because if you have a good setup, it can really neutralize a lot of those minor advantages in the economy.
It can. Yeah, it absolutely can. But Millennium Fox is starting to run away right now, and I'm getting a little worried because you have almost double CS over Samza. He's been getting focused down. He has 3 kills now, and it's starting to come alive that there is going to be this side lane presence that SFU cannot really deal with without committing their entire team. And I want to see how they can utilize. I mean, the decision to and how they problem solve this is going to be crucial if they want to stay in this series.
So far, the first step is saying, let's not go for this Rift Herald. Let's try and cash back up on some farm and some other pressure elsewhere on the map. Taking the entire bottom jungle of UC Berkeley. I guess that's a move. At least Ninsasin getting red buff is but lose all this mid lane control, and it's just to give some security over to Jinsol, who really shouldn't be on this side lane, should help the mid, but here comes the spike, here comes the TPs.
Ooh, that was a really good crescent guard. Isis is already down now. Samson gets the nice taunt on QCOs, this big encore as well, and all of a sudden, SFU back in the driver's seat say, nah, we just needed a little break.
And what a break they got, just a little bit of reprieve. Sure, they didn't give over too much, but immediately after a single fight, just jump over to a 4,000 gold lead and start to break open this mid lane. Wonderful job there from Jinsol and Ricky to start that fight off. Also to Cobb as well. Cobb really was the kickstarter to all of that, getting in on this Leona, getting onto Issis on that Aphelios, and then just immediately locking people down within the kill zone that Ninsasin and Jinsol are looking for. There, you just need to rinse and repeat for this Ocean Soul point coming up in the next 10 seconds. Got the vision kind of set up for it within the river. See if you can get some extra vision around those flanks to make sure that QCOS doesn't come in and try and steal it. But at this stage, overall, this is looking like a sole point here for Simon Fraser without any big signs of resistance from the Golden Bears.
We'll see if QCOS wants to do anything finicky here. Might actually go for Rex here. I was wondering if they just pull the trigger there and try to get Rex out, but here goes the Dragon Start up by SFU.
Drag it out just a little bit. Make sure that you have that extra room of comfort away from the Lee Sin. Not worrying about this dragon whatsoever. They need to get back online with controlling the map again. Because remember, this is all a game of side lane and tempo here for the side of UC Berkeley to become victorious and to have that control in their own hands for just a moment. While Simon Fraser is totally fine grouping up, losing a little bit of that side lane, because if they see 1 or 2 members on, sort of on those off lanes, doesn't matter. You have the man advantage, and you can just siege up, create that battering ram of a team fight composition, and run down this mid lane with absolute force and threaten a potential inhibitor at 19 minutes. So here, kind of cash-ins are coming in with the items as well. I'm seeing some items, second items are already getting finished up. The Essence Reaver for Ninsasin is actually rather huge, while Death's Dance for Millennium Fox is going to be not something to scoff at either.
Can I just say I'm happy that nobody is building the lethality anymore? Off the Zaya.
Yeah, that got hotfixed really fast, didn't it? It was just like...
Yep, it did. But then people were still building it. Like, we literally, last night in NEST, all the Zayas were building the the lethality build still. It's hilarious.
Maybe China's on a different patch. I don't know.
But Nin is on the next line. He knows what's up. All right, he knows what's up.
The other thing though that's a little bit worrying for me is that Samsa still hasn't finished his Sunfire Aegis yet. So it's kind of like one of the more difficult mythics to finish because of just how expensive the ingredients are. But at this stage, it's 19 minutes and you don't have your mythic yet. That's gonna dampen a little bit of your side lane control, and that's the big room for concern when it comes to, when it comes to the Shen.
It is, but the fact that they're on Soul Point at this point and like they feel comfortable not taking any of these fights, kind of waiting it out till they can force Cal into a team fight, I think is fine for them, right? We've seen already multiple times how sickening their composition is when they can layer all that CC. We highlighted in the draft, we see the execution unfolding right in front of us, and if they can get this Ocean Soul, that solidifies that side lane for Samsa against Millennium Fox. You have the sustain, you have the regen to be able to put up with the constant force of pressure of Millennium Fox.
For sure. And almost after this point, thank goodness he also just cashed in on that mythic as well, so don't have to be sweating bullets anymore. Though from here, I guess the other question, right, for all of us is just the Baron and Dragon Soul at this point, right? For Simon Fraser to be looking at, because it's tough for them to force anything without having that additional threat point, just because of how well UC Berkeley is controlling these side lanes and playing passive and sort of keeping Cobb and Ricky away with at least with a 10-foot pole at that to dissuade any engagement. Though I like this adjustment, shut down some of the vision and create a sense of anonymity within the jungle here for Simon Fraser to play with and continue to cut away some of those resources as well. Sure, you're cutting away resources away from Kusios and Issis, but at least you're cutting away that Aphelios resource, which is the one big team fight player on the side of UC Berkeley that could really send Simon Fraser for a roll. Though on the side lanes, this is where it's like Stabsies and Millennium Fox come into play of just being that inkling of concern of, all right, they are very far ahead when it comes down to trying to cash in on the side lane pressure. Sure, you're keeping up with them in a sense of some farm. The only difference is that 50 CS that Samsa is having to sacrifice to just try and hold the defenses against Millennium Fox instead of being able to keep up with the farming department. Though, to that end, how long does that defense last? Or how long does this patience play for UC Berkeley? Comes down to these objectives. Because Dragon spawning in 30 seconds, you have to at least try and challenge this one, if anything else.
You do. Nin got the blue buff as well before this. It is going to be Cal set up in front of the Dragon Pit first. They need to be here. Stand United available for Sam's at the side lane, but Cal know they cannot give up this Ocean Soul if they hope to get this side lane pressure in their favor. Cobb just walking straight in here, wants to go for the engage. There you go. Solar Flare is coming down as well. Stand United on top of it all, but they've already used all their CC. This is where Cal can potentially turn things around. Issis is on the side, can do a lot, but the Blade Caller is going to separate the fight now. You've still got 4 members strong, but Issis is caught. There's no way the double grand entrance does not matter, or does it? You can get so much of this CC and damage from Stabsy, but it's not going to be enough. Samsa doesn't land the taunt either. Grand entrance back, gravitational field is not connecting. Oh my god, QCO just goes in for the kill, but gets immediately turned back on by Ricky.
And what a phenomenal fight there from the members of Simon Fraser to try and create as much space and use the terrain to keep the members of UC Berkeley away. You're going to try and finish up on
this is a little worrying. Yeah. I don't know. Stabsy has a lot of damage on the side. Checking the bush there, utilizes the bed. Double knock up here as well. TP's now coming in from the base. The Dragon gets smited away, but can they take the fight afterward? Cobb is not dead yet. Jinsoul needs to be the target at least. They will eventually bring them all down. Ocean Soul does not matter. Will be secured for SFU. and they continue to find that objective dominance we've seen all game long.
And with that fight, with the Dragon Soul going over to the way of Simon Fraser, I feel like that might just be the tipping point when it comes down to late game fights. Have to keep it in play, but this is an ambitious play here. Trying to
got the speed. They've got the speed.
Yeah, with the
100%.
red white for sure. They're chunking it down. Ricky nowhere to be seen. Kusios could secure this easily. This will be a Baron power play for the side of UCal, but
they just even up the gold with that.
Yeah. So like, this is where the second half of that Dragon fight comes into play, right? Of the sense that UCal was not fighting, or at least they were trying to fight for the Dragon Soul as always, but the main priority was getting those shutdowns and getting some gold back onto your carries and winning the fight overall. And with Stabsies being able to survive for so long, able to cash in on a lot of those kills, jumping himself up to four kills, 3 deaths, he and the rest of the Golden Bears are now at this place where, with this power play, they can now take the 5v5 fight to Simon Fraser, but just for a little while. They have some heal cut on the side of Rex and on Stabsies. That's some good overall heal cut, but it's not that massive 60% heal cut just yet. You don't have the Mortal Reminder from Isties just yet. You don't have the Chemtech Purifier either, or Putrefier from Rex cashed in either. So this
Solar
is still
Flare lands directly onto assist. There's the Encore, does land as well. He's trying to get in there. Rex does not make it in time. The ADC is down for the Cal Bears, and that is unfortunate.
They're able to get that kill. They can still try and push to force some of these turrets to fall inside of UCal. It's all about wasting the time, using the Baron to stall Simon Fraser's advances in the mid lane as much as possible while you have Millennium Fox on those side lanes. Millennium Fox actually recalled to try and take the fight back to Simon Fraser in this mid lane. As that happens.
But Stand United is available, so they could just join the fight here.
Good disengaged, and to this end, you know, you only have a minute left on that Baron power play. Isty's Cutie backup, and to this point, I feel like you just have to try and get that side split going once again. That split push needs to come online here for UCal, and just using the Baron power play to use that to be used as a stabilizer is good enough. Though this end against an Ocean Soul and a late game Seraphine Xayah, not only are you having to deal with the difficult to keep down ADC and that massive damage output that this Xayah is going to be able to dish out on Ninsin, but also the fact that you have so much sustain now coming out of the Seraphine. Seraphine's team fighting all comes out is that the fact that she's just a massive utility support when it comes to keeping your front line alive, when it comes down to slowing the advances of a lot of these divers like Kusios' Lee Sin and Millennium Fox's Camille, keeping them at bay. So you can see that in a lot of these fights, it's just the reason why they're winning is not just because of Ninsin's massive damage output, but because everyone is just getting locked down in kill zone by
that
Jinsoul.
was not the play. Oh my goodness, I thought he was going to die. They don't commit onto him. They actually just want to go for Stabsies because they know where they need to focus, but that's an immediate turnaround. Stabsies goes down first, shut down to Nin. Big Moonlight Vigil, but it's on the Graviton, so you don't get much off of it, and Jinsoul gets the second kill of the fight. This is looking like SFU kicking and screaming want to bring us into game 3.
Yeah, they are definitely trying to break open this defense. Only real curiosity is if they will be able to break this turtle shell that is UCal's base. We're looking at this mid lane once again. Baron has waned away. No more power play there. And there's no wave clear on the side of the Golden Bears either. Stabsies is down for the next 14 seconds. So they're going to have to forfeit this inhibitor. I see a little bit of a scramble going on in the river, so close to the mid lane. I think they're trying to get Jinsoul here. They just might.
Has to burn the cleanse. There goes the inhibit mid lane. Meanwhile, yep, Jinsoul will die. It's caught out, and now the rest of the three need to make it out alive. Infernum is available. They're gonna copy the TP with Samza here, and now the AoE is there. They turn it around on Millennium Fox. Nice grand entrance there to bring it back up here for Cal. They still have Istis in there. Gale Force forward and in is not going to die just yet. The Blade Caller saves him, but just for a little bit longer. Ricky is now back on the side, and it's just Istis. It's just QCOs. The CC chains are too much. Oh, it's tragedy for Cal. They drafted themselves into a corner, and that corner is bloody as SFU charge into the base.
And with the easier to execute composition, the team fight focus, and the lockdown from Simon Fraser, they're able to quell the side split pressure that UC Berkeley was trying to cook up. They are able to revert the mistakes that they had in the early game. They're going to be able to take the second game, bringing us to the third match.
Indeed, it will be so. We will start off with some bangers here in the finals, as it will be going to game 3. SFU completely changed themselves going from game 1 to game 2, and Cal are just caught unawares. Cool.
Yeah, caught unawares for sure, especially at the very beginning of how this game all kicked off, with Rex trying to create a little bit of river pressure between mid and bot to secure that scuttle, and then just missing that grand entrance to where it gives that room for Ricky on this Xin Zhao to find the entry right onto Issis. Gets onto that Aphelios, starts the fight up, and then you start with a 2-0 Xin Zhao. So much pressure already there for the early game for Simon Fraser to start using and working with. And then a lot of that success also came off of the back of Cobb assisting with Ricky in roaming around the map, securing those neutral objectives, and just jumping constantly onto this back line of UCal.
Cobb and Jinsol stepped up. I mean, these guys, from game 1 to game 2, night and day. The fact that Cobb was able to continuously be aggressive against Rex, and Jinsol smashed the mid lane. There's no questions. There's no ifs, ands, buts about it. So I'm very excited for both what Simon Fraser University can continue with going in game 3, but also what UC Berkeley can respond with, because we know these players are good, and they're not going to go out like they did in game number 2. We're going to send it away to a little break. We'll be right back with game number 3. Welcome back to the NACE Starleague Fall 2021 League of Legends JV West Conference Playoff Finals. We're here with UC Berkeley and Simon Fraser University. I'm Mazel, joined by Coco the Dragon. And what a series we have in front of us.
It's been a series that we've had not just in front of us, but also behind us as well, as we are already 2 games in out of the 3. And to be fair, it has sort of been back and forth between these teams as well. Game 1 was a very dominant performance from UC Berkeley, with a lot of pressure from Stabsies in the side lane. But then on the side of Simon Fraser, it was a complete flip-flop. They were able to get a quick early game catch there for Ricky, and then it was nothing but up there with the roams that they were able to come in with, like the Leona and Xin Zhao kill, army of 2 kill combo that they were able to really push off. But, you know, quickly through the pick and ban we're going to go through now, not much changes, but Zig still left on the bench, but whoa, immediate first lock on Zai from Simon Fraser on the blue side.
Hey, they know where their confidence lies, and that Zai looked pretty darn good last game. I do want to see what UC Berkeley's response is here for themselves, though, because I'm just very surprised that Game 2 went the way it did, and that there was such a difference from Game 1 to Game 2. Yeah. So I wonder what kind of ease of execution we'll see out of UC Berkeley today, for Game 3 at least, and Jin is the first pickup for themselves. So we live in a world where ADC is first picked. Lee Sin, though, also going to join the table for Berkeley.
I like the Lee Sin again. I think if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of thing. He's just been sort of outmaneuvered by Ricky constantly, no matter the pick, whether it's Graves or Xin Zhao. So it feels like, even though it is a good pick for UC Berkeley and for QCS individually, it's more of a composition outside of the jungle that is a necessary change, it looks like, for their formula. Hence why the Jin is there, something that has a little bit better lane presence and can scale it very efficiently against a lot more of those side lane 1-3-1 comps that UC Berkeley favors. Simon Fraser, though, I feel like this is just going to be another rinse and repeat team fight.
Yep, they're just drafting the exact same things they got last time. Which, if it don't, like you said, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Although it is on the blue side this time. So far, red has been king. So we'll see how that all plays itself out. But here is a actual nice pickup into the Leona if they do want to go for it. And the cow for UC Berkeley will be locked in.
So far, the one adaptation, because of Rakan being banned, you don't have like that Xayah Rakan cat like duo combo, nor do you have the ability to sort of use it as a threat point for Simon Fraser to try and challenge with any of that. So I think UC Berkeley with that ban gives them that little extra lap of luxury to sit in, just to with the laning and sort of with the flexibility that the engaged supports can sort of come into play with. Of course, we don't get anything spicy like a Poppy support to like really mess with anyone, but overall, it's a good counter pick. Create some space once it comes down to those more multi-dimensional team fights, right? Because that's where these two supports, though outside of the lane, they're going to try and roam, get those advantages with Ricky once again, or sort of to stabilize Stabsy's laning phase in the mid lane as well for UC Berkeley. Once it comes to those team fights, I feel like Zalstar might have just a couple more tools in his side to try and isolate some of the targets.
The LeBlanc was the first pickup for UC Berkeley in the second phase, and immediate pickups are going to be the Silas and the Wukong for Simon Fraser University. So changing up a little bit from game number 2, but still very strong pieces nonetheless.
So far, this is the first LeBlanc too that we've seen all out of this series, and it's usually just a mainstay for a lot of these.
They're bringing it back. They're bringing it back. It looked so good in game number 1.
And it's going to go up against the Wukong, which has some tank killing capability off of his ultimate, but not as much to really deal with a Scion. And if you're playing front to back, just put a Juggernaut in the very front. I think you got a lot of room of comfort for this more slippery damage output team that UC Berkeley has cooked up for themselves. Now they don't have like a consistent damage source, right? Because Jin's still, he has the reload mechanic, much more focused on trying to kick crit strikes and lock down burst an individual target. So with that end, I'm curious how much time Simon Fraser is going to have in these team fights to sort of dish out damage, ramp up their carries of both the Silas and the Xayah, and then really wreak havoc on the back line of UC Berkeley. So I'm still very worried for Berkeley's composition when it comes down to the 5v5s, but the way that they've been playing throughout the last 2 games, side lane pressure, trying to force 1-3-1s around objectives, and forcing Simon Fraser into a kill zone bubble rather than anything else, is going to be a question that I think needs to be not just answered, but also defended to a point, right? Of we play this style because we're stronger at it, and we go have a more difficult to execute composition. The individual pieces are inevitably going to be more valuable than this 5v5 composition that Simon Fraser has cooked up.
And speaking of that composition, I feel like it's a little rough for the Silas here. Obviously, you have the Unbreakable that you can grab from the Alistar, but it's not, I feel like, the same avenue of success that Simon Fraser found in game number 2, right? And that's always going to be so when you get some pieces taken away from you. But it's that amazing chain of CC in the target calling from last game is going to be a little bit harder to come by, I feel like, in this 3rd game.
Sure. And what else? I'm overall looking at not just the lane matchups as well, but I'd have to be saying, like, with Ricky again on this in Zhao, this just feels like a strong Simon Fraser early game victory once again. Like, sure, he got a little bit of a handout with Rex messing up on the roam with Rakan with that engage, but even then, it's just throughout this series he's been faster on the draws for scuttle contentions.
He's been faster to objectives, been faster to trying to isolate specific targets. The only thing he hasn't really been faster on is like sometimes gank pressure. But even then, I feel like he actually has been. I feel like he's been in the lanes more than Crucios has been on this Lee Sin, who was a little bit inactive during the first game just because of how oppressive his team was in the laning phase. But in the second game, he was losing out against Cobb and Ricky's Leona Xin Zhao combo when it came to pressuring down mid lane and trying to get Stabsy or brain farting here, Jinsol online as it comes into ramping up a utility mid laner.
And especially with how like the mid lane has played out in both games so far, like it's a very volatile area of the map. But for this second game, right, I guess the thing I'm looking at specifically is this support matchup again, because I do feel like it was super crucial last game specifically for Cobb, who was, it just feels like on a roll with the Leona, the roams, the target selection, the lockdown, and really just pulling his team into the fights. And now you have the Alistair response from Rex on the other side, who has shown the aggressive tendencies, even on the Enchanter Lulu in the first game. And it's gonna be a lot of butting heads, rightfully so, with the cow.
Yeah.
But I still think that is also, in terms of the volatility in mid lane and the way that this game is gonna play out, a very integral piece.
Integral at that, to be fair. Bummer, man. Sorry. I don't know. I'm just a little too excited. Like,
are you all right?
I'm just gonna say, I was watching you, like, do some cast and finesse. I was just like, this is just a completely different meta, man. Collegiate always hits different. Collegiate always hits different when it comes down to the different drafts and such. And I feel like at this point, both of these teams have showed their strengths and how they like to play the game. It's just a matter of getting onto the Rift and showing who's more of the consistent team, right? Because it's like, it's the first seed for second seed. UC Berkeley, sure, had Simon Fraser in game 1, but game 2 was all Simon Fraser from the get-go. So
yeah,
it's just one of those scenarios of, sure, y'all are the best in the West Conference at the moment, but you got to show up on game day every single time. And to this end, this is game 3. This is the challenge of consistency. Will you be able to come out on top of running the Rift, running your composition, executing on your proper markers, hitting the timer right, constant line of communication, strong communication at that, and working with each other day in and day out when it comes to game 1, game 2, game 3s. And the tenacity of players is crucial when it comes down to being the best and being a champion of not just your region, but also of a nation as well.
Trying to, yeah. At least. But it all does come down to this for both these teams, and it's been exactly how you would expect it to be in Collegiate League of Legends, where one game was a smash and a half, the next game another smash and a half on the opposite side, and now we get whatever game 3 is going to end up being, which always is a great time in itself. And I love that this is the kind of action we get to finalize this conference, and especially to bring us to a close, right? Because I think it's always so interesting. We talk so much throughout the season about the growth, the development for each one of these programs, everybody on different levels, everybody at different states of play. But that doesn't matter when you get to this moment, right? It matters what happens on the Rift. It matters about who's showing up on the day, and that's what competition is all about.
Improve your
Yep.
skills.
As we allowed out onto the Rift, game 3, final point here.
Improve your skills. Then find me again.
For the West Conference Championship. All on the line, all or nothing. And it's a battle of philosophies, battle of tenacity. And at the very beginning of this game, it's a battle of the junglers. Crucios has been sort of slow to the call on a lot of these changes, a lot of these scuttles, objectives, turrets, fights. It has been Ricky who has had the better of him every single time. But it is Simon
at least the game 2.
I don't know. Game one was kind of the same thing. Like I feel like Ricky on the Graves was like faster to the objectives. He was faster at power farming. Of course, it's a Graves as it is, but like when you're a Lee Sin and you need to pressure these lanes against that Graves in game one, and QCOS is sort of matching Ricky in that, he's not exceeding him in that pressure. That's where it's like, okay, you're getting the run for your money, and you're at this place where a lot of it was a lot more just like stabs he's winning it out. But and you know, the bottom lanes have been the most volatile between every single game. That's the part that is just like, you know where the first punch is going to happen first, and it's always between Rex and
unfortunately for a Jin, you don't have a lot of damage early on, so just getting some poke down with Cobb. You're going to have to burn those healing potions as well. So a little advantage for Cal in the bot lane so far in that volatility matchup you're talking about. But again, the spotlight goes towards these junglers, both starting on the top side of the map. You know where their eyes are looking.
Seeing if we can get to that level 2 quickly between these teams. Unfortunately, that level 2 is just going to come a little bit later, as we have a pause coming in as well.
Wouldn't be Collegiate Legends without it. League of Legends without it.
Honestly, like, it's just one of those things. You have a little bit of a ping spike. You never know with these Western ISPs, but challenge it. But alrighty, they're trying to fight for that level 2. You're trying to win out, trying to push the other duo away from those final melee minions to get that level up. Rex gets his. He's just got his as well, so they're able to win on that too. That sort of tells the tale for both of these teams for just a little while to situate how they're going to be able to win pressure over for their junglers. So this is where I think Simon Fraser might have a little bit of a deficit when it comes down to the first blood challenge, but with both the junglers padding down to this bottom side, it could blow up at any second.
Absolutely could. It was a full topside for Ricky, and just skipping the Krubs for QCS, which is normal. Samza should get a ton of pressure put on him by Millennium Fox on the top side.
Something about this Scion, man. It's just, it hits different with Millennium Fox.
Oh no! The level 3. Rex does have flash. He'll be able to get over the wall here. No, he doesn't. First blood to Ricky. TP now coming in from Millennium Fox. Does have a lot of follow-up with Issus here, but he backs off, and Issus gets re-engaged on. Millennium Fox just baited his ADC, but at least QCOS is able to get in here. Now TPs is just being burned across the map.
And I don't know why those final 2 TPs from the mid laners decided to come in. The fight was pretty much over at that point. And I understand Millennium Fox for a little bit because he came in just at the time where he could try and grab one more kill off of Cobb, who didn't have flash, but Issy's just trying to keep them interested was very...
He got baited. I'm here for Issus. I'm here as an ADC. I'm going to represent. You just baited your ADC into that fight.
You kind of
He's like, you're going to commit, right? You're going to commit, right?
Yeah, it's like, I'm using this TP. It better be worth it. And, like, all this while, Sam's is up in the top lane like, all right, well, I'm just going to try and catch up on CS because I'm struggling out here. Able to get that and some solo XP too, so already bumped up to level 4. Overall, a big win for Simon Fraser across the board. Like, nothing else to say when it comes to that. Outside also open.
Double knocked up in mid lane. Now they have QCOS here as well. Cobb getting very, very low. One auto attack will do it. Is it enough? QCOS gets the kill, but TP now with the advantage from Samza. They found Rex, and they might find QCOS not following it up under tower.
They're able to get at least 1 kill and showing back out a 1-for-1 trade. So it goes over to QCS, and the more that these kills go over to these junglers, the more I start favoring Ricky. Just because the Xin Zhao is going to be the better fighter on the day. He's going to have that better objective control. Sure, the Lee Sin on QCS has that executability to try and jump in and get and secure the objectives. When it comes down to challenging them and creating a pressure point around them, this Xin Zhao is going to have the upper hand on that. And matter of fact, Ocean Soul is now, or Ocean Dragon, excuse me, is now up and available. So, don't think it's going to be something that either of these teams are going to be eyeing for a little while. Mostly because those junglers are just starting their re-entry of the jungle padding down into the bottom lane to prepare.
The pulverize used by Rex. I'm going to have a nice little engagement if Cog wants to go in, but just going to be calm and steady, at least in this bottom lane for now. Dragon available for 30 seconds at least now, but no focus up that or towards that way, at least for either of these junglers. As QCS actually passing down towards this bot side. Might be looking for it, but an early Ocean Dragon would be super, super pivotal. I mean, a little bit of reason is not too bad.
Other thing too, with these bottom lanes, Issy's being the Jhin, trying to make sure that you have that initial burst, you have to start poking and prodding a little bit more. And it's difficult to do that against Cobb because that Leona will jump immediately on top of you, and when it happens, Ninsin is going to win those trades. So, being very careful with choosing your battles here for Issy's is crucial, and it is giving so much room for Cyber Fraser to try and access this river, access this dragon, and with that, with the push in from Jinsoul as well on the Silas, they have the inside track to try and look for a kill. Thing is Lucios is down here, they're actually looking for kill instead, possibly steal away a blue buff.
They do, in fact, do so. And now Rex has found the flank. You get the double knockup. They've been split apart. Issus has to flash over, but there you go. The Blast Cone gets him out. Here comes the Unstoppable, but it's not going to be nearly long range enough. Blade Caller stops the follow up, but Jhin still dies. Jinsoul goes down to a killing spree, and now the Pulverize seals the deal. Double kill for QCS, and this is looking good for Cal after the early slip up. This is no slip up at all. As Cobb dies, that's a huge boom for Cal.
We had to make a little bit of a mess in the early game for UCal to go ahead and get the mop out and start cleaning up Simon Fraser University. And a wonderful back-end flank there by Rex Required. Sure, Issy's had to use that flash to get over the wall to just be in the safe spot, but it was all just this Alistar who has the exact amount of tools to get into the middle of the fight, keep people there, keep people in that kill zone, and keep them away from Stabsy, keep QCS in a place where you can maneuver on this Lee Sin to get to the proper targets. And also that use of terrain just around the edge as well, just to stall Jinsoul Silas that little bit more from getting on top of Issy's. It's very crucial in that fight turning around into the Golden Bears' favor. So with this 6 kills to 3 and encroaching on that 2,000 gold lead, you're starting to get to that point of getting to those mythic items maybe just 30 seconds or a minute ahead of your opponent and using that power spike to double down onto this Rift Herald and onto the rest of the map when it comes down to opening up this Rift a little bit more and getting into those lane assignments that can properly execute that 1-3-1 split or that 1-4-1 split that you see Berkeley's lane.
See if it works out for them this time around, though. That's the biggest question. As we do see Rift Herald potentially positioned on by QCS up here in Rex. As it's actually a bit unfortunate for Ricky. He's on the other side of the map. Maybe looking for a dive onto Issus, but it does have a couple camps that he could invade on against Cal. He'll be spotted out here, though.
Even though QCS is 4-0, he's still
he
getting...
stole it.
Oh,
Jeez.
well done.
What a masterclass. Issus. They lose a lot of plates on the tower, but
that's why you go to math class, though. You just like count it down,
goodness.
you know how much damage you do, bam, hit it right there. Perfect timing. So, yeah, like you said, you're losing a lot of plates, so it's kind of a victory because of how valuable Krug is. So actually, it might just turn out a little bit better.
Oh,
ooh, that's a little bit worrying.
Cobb not
Rex
doing a great job
flash.
body blocking there.
He's very close. There he goes.
There you go, Feather Call. Feather Storm, plus the Blade Call is available.
Yeah.
But Nin gets out with the use of his ulti, not having to burn the flash.
That is so close to the chest. And QCS is here with that Rift Herald now. This turret is as good as gone because of just that literal shot that Issy's was able to weave past Cobb. Gets him this first turret, I believe. Sure, Ricky's down here to try and challenge, but exactly, it's the little things that count here.
Oh,
TP's
they
coming
see
in
Ricky.
too. Now it's the big things.
They saw Ricky, they're like immediately, no, we don't want that. But Decimating Smash comes in now onto Cobb, and Cobb has to flash away. Ricky and Jinsoul are the front line here, and Jinsoul does have that Unbreakable Will. utilize it to really turn this tower fight. This is just an outer tower, but they are committing to this fight. They might just lose it. TP is also coming in from Stabsy. They have found Rex Required, cooking up some beef on a Saturday. But is it going to be enough? Jinsol is burned out here, and the next wave's crashing very soon. Oh. There you go. Millennium Fox going in. Cuse has found Jin, but he flashes over the wall and gets out. The health bars from SFU are just not strong. And now Cuseios goes unstoppable with a kill on the Nin.
They're able to finally get that first turret. All the while, Samza was there on the top side of the map. He had TP available this entire time, but he was deciding to push for the turret. This Wukong could have been very impactful in this fight for this first brick, but deciding to try and challenge for the race instead. I'm curious on how many turret plates are left there, as we just sort of go through another ping pause as it is. So, yeah, he was pretty close. Okay, so that gives me a little bit of confidence on that call. Sam's saying, like, you guys survive, try and hold him out as much as possible. I can look for this first break, but unfortunately, it was UC Berkeley that was able to actually win out on that one. So, for them, bit of a bummer. And it's one of those. I think this is a moderate. It's a moderate risk to moderate reward factor of like, okay, you get a bunch of gold onto this Wukong, and you get that first brick as well victory, at the risk of 2 people's lives or 1 person's life and that first brick as well. The moderate level of that comes into play of just how you're going to now apply this Wukong. He's cashed in on that Divine Sunderer. This Wukong can start to really become that chaotic divider in those team fights. You just need to now apply that. You need to get him out of this lane and into these objective fights. Dragon's up in a minute, in 50 seconds. So at this stage, it's at this point of saying, all right, you've been passive in the top side of the map where Millennium Fox has been out farming you and has been more active. You need to start making an argument for this Wukong, and he needs to start becoming this dominant fighter as he is already taking a brutal brunt of damage from Millennium.
Millennium will flash away from the solo play of Cobb. They were full and ready to commit a fight to Millennium Fox, try to take him down, but not able to. Is this now maneuvering to the mid lane? Will find a plate for himself. Not going to be pounced on by the SFU hopefuls. The bottom lane is the focus right now for Cal, as Dragon's coming up in 10 seconds. And they are looking for a dive on a Nin, who is in some trouble if we can get the camera down there.
Uh-oh.
As he is in alcove gameplay mode right now and dodges out. Oh my god, no.
He's got the happy
okay,
feet.
he's dead.
Oh.
He died.
Doesn't have that mythic just yet to like Gale Force in the Thunderstorm and then like get some execute.
Millennium Fox is taking a 1v3 up here.
Is he taking it or is he tanking it? There's a...
Both.
Yes.
4K
yes,
no los dos.
Yes is the answer. This is... Simon Fraser is... I don't think this is autopilot. I think this is damage control now. This is not looking good for them because of just the fight that went awry. That was very much just Rex getting that back flank and doing a phenomenal job in isolating targets for the rest of UC Berkeley. But then that turret dive gamble, it's just... Well,
oh no, even the 4th shot. Oh gosh.
What is the AP scaling on the Jin side?
Nothing. There's no.
Well, like you get.
I'm pretty sure it's full AD.
Well, it is full AD, but like you get a.
You get a
AP
percentage.
Yeah.
But obviously not enough. He hit Issus hit
well,
the 4th shot and did like sub 200 damage.
Well, the problem is that you don't have the Jin passive, right? Like you don't get the Jin passive with it, whereas like your crits technically do more damage or whatever.
I mean, at this point, you're literally just looking for Rex Required's ulti.
Yeah, like this is very much just like Rex Required's ulti, and that's it. That's the only one you should be stealing for team fights, because that makes like Silas pretty much unkillable. Which is broken, yes, but at this point you're 0-1 on the Silas, and you have a 2-0 Stabsy's LeBlanc, and Cuseios' Lee Sin, which is 5-0, which honestly has been stealing the kills from everybody, to be fair. It's just Lee Sin base damage. So to that end, UC Berkeley is getting to execute their 1-3-1 comp splendidly. They're getting
everything that they're asking for. And but the thing is that it was just an awkward journey to get here. It was very much just Rex Required having that phenomenal flank, and just being able to stabilize with this top side, which has been much more aggressive. I think like Millennium Fox, this has been a Millennium Fox and Rex Required diff, like 100% in this game. Like Samza has been inactive in this top side, has still been losing out in the farming department for the most part. Yes, he's 110 to 113 now, but he has not used his TP as often, and the times he has used TP is to catch waves. So that just leaves to me that question again of just like, who's going to have the stronger line of communication and the more consistent energy and communication as well throughout the series. And so far, it is UC Berkeley that is going away with flying colors.
Rift Herald started up by Ricky, but will be moved into by Cal. They take a pretty much, I guess at this point, if they take this Rift Herald, it's 100% objective dominance.
Yeah.
In this third game, and a far cry from what we saw in game number 2. Even though Cal gave up those early bloods and the early kills that we saw in last game, they took control towards that 10-minute mark, and they have found a lot of presence around the map. I feel like.
Yeah, if they can finally break open one of these other turrets, I'd be looking at this top side of the map. Though that mid lane is very, very appetizing just because of how low it is. Break this open and then potentially force for 2. I think they can actually get 2 turrets in this mid lane if they really try and gamble for it.
Yeah, they could.
They got TPs. They could threaten. Just didn't time it.
Cobb
with the wave,
and Nin are pretty scary though.
Well, yeah, the wave clear from Nincison is right.
It does look like they want to dive onto Samza, and SFU realize what's happening. Go ahead and commit the TP from Jinsoul. Here comes the curtain call. They've already found Samza almost. No, he dashes, gets away just for a little bit longer. Rex Required gets the kill. Q actually gets away, and This just comes in to get the kill. My goodness, the execution level for Cal is just on another one.
In a phenomenal T-fight, or turret dive.
Where was this game too?
I don't know, but well, okay, hold on. Ricky did get like a double kill in the first 3 minutes.
He got a double kill in this one.
And well, but where has Cobb not been though?
Where is he not?
Cobb
one of those
Cobb
like,
has not been on
games
the
you...
well. Cobb has not been on the map. This is a lot been Simon Fraser being a little bit more less active than that of the Golden Bears. Like the Rex Required has been in the right places at the right time. Cobb has been sort of isolated to trying to play defender rather than attacker on this Leona, and that leaves a lot of room for the rest of the Golden Bears, so Stabsies and Crucios, to be a little bit more mobile and be more flexible with their early game decisions. And I will reiterate this again. I'm sorry, but 5% of the time that this is true, top gap is a thing. So, Millennium Fox's Scion is just running a masterclass on this right now, and Samza has been one of the most inactive players in the series so far.
Rex, look at this. They go for the solar flare though, but immediately on the flank is Rex Required, and now they're just taking the front to back. That decimating smash does just that, but here's the AoE combo from SFU, and they could get a double kill now with Nin. Can they follow it up? It's split from Cal, and Cal lose the team fight.
And this was that moderate risk, moderate reward factor that I was discussing here, Mazel, is the fact that all of this change up from Millennium Fox primarily focusing on getting this bottom lane online for Isties and Rex, and then Samza not going to any fights, farming up as much as possible, getting as many turret plates as he can, and just focusing on himself on this Wukong to become the stronger team fight champion on the day is one of those big game changers. And you saw the majority of UC Berkeley, 4 out of the 5 members are sitting right on top of a double Wukong ultimate, and that just rends the entire team apart. And then sitting within that little kill zone allows Nincison to get the blade recalls. You get Jinsoul to sit there with that Alistar ultimate to be unkillable on the Silas, and you then have that chaotic team fight composition that Simon Fraser has cooked up for themselves to full effect. Everyone is a fighter that is durable enough to survive, but does just enough damage to be considered a threat, and then Cal doesn't have the consistent damage to deal with them. They have the burst damage to pick off one by one, and now they're struggling with anything else. But at least they're finding another pick here to try and swing themselves back.
Oh, it's this. He canceled the auto. Still gets the kill in the end of it. Samsa not able to save the day for his support. Cobb went down now. Hex Flash over the wall. And you got the headbutt pulverized combo. Samsa is going to go down. Cusio gets stunned up under tower, though, and falls immediately. Ricky is down here with some backup as Jinsoul putting in the work here. And they have found this. Rex just left his ADC there, but TP's comes in as well as the unstoppable onslaught. And there you go. The fight turns around in favor of Cal just because of the amount of bodies they have, and Issa's able to get back in here as well at the end.
Well, and also just just remember how that fight started out. It wasn't a full 5v5 setup. It was trickling in members of Simon Fraser and of UCal as well. It was initially a 3v2, and then inevitably became this 4v2 that we're seeing here on the map now, to where the burst damage that UC Berkeley has with the Jhin, with the Lee Sin, and with the LeBlanc have the capability to take out Simon Fraser's fighters in the front line in bite-sized chunks, right? It's like, all right, we can focus on to Ricky here first. All right, we can now isolate Samsa. Now we can move on to Jinsoul. All right, now there's no front line for Ninsasin and Cobb to be defending behind, so now we can pressure onto them as well. And that is what UCal has been able to do successfully on the side lanes, is to isolate multiple members and then be able to take them off one by one. They don't win in a full 5v5 because of just how much raw damage and durability that Simon Fraser has. And if we see that happen again, which we have Baron up available, yes, but we're looking at the Dragon in the next 2.5 minutes, where if Simon Fraser, once again, it's that 5v5 front to back fight, or even finds a flank in there with Cobb or Samsa, then this conjunction of every member together will be in their favor. But if UC Berkeley goes into the sense of, all right, continue to side lane pressure, let's look for vision control, and pressure individual members of Simon Fraser, they'll be able to win by that death of 1,000 cuts and by playing the map more than playing Simon Fraser man-to-man.
That's where you can find that success, but the setup from Simon Fraser is looking pretty strong at this point. All about finding the right targets now and not letting Issus get caught out.
Look for that mid lane control. I'm looking for vision control here too as well. Like, we need to make sure we have those flanks covered here for Simon Fraser. You do not want to see Stabsy or Crucius being able to get onto the back line when you're trying to set up for that full 5v5 fight. You also need to know how people are transitioning between these lanes, right? Like, you need to start seeing early on, all right, Millennium is going to top side, Stabsy's going to bottom lane. They're going for that rotation now. Let's see if we can brute force ourselves onto this mid lane and break it open, swing ourselves back into the driver's seat, and slowly crunch away at the 7,000 gold deficit that they have yet to climb back into, that UC Berkeley is currently working with. And you look at the gold that they have on their members, we finally are getting some kills onto Issies and onto Stabsies. So this massive burst damage that they're having and that's coming into play is going to start to be a very daunting task to deal with when it comes against these more niche team fights and these skirmishes that they're going to be looking for.
And we are just ramming it up right now. Make sure we got priority over mid lane before this 30-second dragon timer comes up. It does look like Cal will try and keep priority there towards this dragon, at least in the river. But Samsa is now shown up to the fight, and we're just going to get a dance for the next 15 seconds.
On it again. 5v5s are more beneficial here for Simon Fraser.
Oh, they
look,
caught
that's
out
a good
Min,
pick by
and the
Stabsy.
chain still connects in the Featherstorm. He dies! That's huge, but look at the back. They have a huge re-engage now by SFU, but is it enough to do anything? The healing from the Kingslayer gets Jinsoul back up. A curtain call now comes out as Issus can get back into the fight, find more as Millennium Fox can't get Ricky, but Issus does. And after a long tried and true battle from SFU, they just get picked apart. They don't get a single member of Cal. And Cal will take that straight to the Baron Bank.
And with that fight, that pick from Stabsies to start everything off, what a wonderful catch there to isolate that member, force the rest of Simon Fraser to answer when they are not prepared to fight, and though they were able to get onto the backline of Issis, Stabs and Crucios were left to their own devices and be able to disengage, and barely any summoners were used outside of the Flash and Gale Force that were needed for that Jhin to survive. And after that, it was just left to Simon Fraser scrambling for some sense of equal trade, of trying to look for Issy's Jhin, and then trying to divert themselves back onto the fight. So now they're just trying to grasp at straws here, trying to catch out all the stragglers.
They are. They might be able to do so. Stabsy just dies. And a shutdown. 1,000 gold to Jhin Soul. Ooh, reconnection on that Sonic Resonance. This is going to be too much, though. Oh, QCO still alive. Goes golden. Heals up a decent amount. Now you got Issis putting in the work here. Oh, no. It is tragedy. It is an ace, and Cal, Baron buffed up, will be pushing down mid lane of SFU.
And with that fight, I think we can go ahead and say this.
They're TPing on the top side. They're going to get split push going.
Yeah, they're going to be breaking in as many turrets as possible. They're going to try and get as many inhibitors because they want to close this game out as fast as possible, right? Like, you have this Baron power play for the next 2 minutes or so. Use it. Get as much off the board as you can. And so that when it comes down to that power play waning away, you have super minions coming in from 2 lanes. You can prioritize directly with all of your resources onto this bottom part of the map. And then from there, Simon Fraser is in a position where they can no longer challenge you man-to-man. And the 2 final fights right there where they started off by picks and not as a full 5 is 100% UC Berkeley's territory. It's their ground to work with. And they're able to take this game by storm, now jumping to a 12,000 gold lead. They're looking to clean this up.
Second tier tower in the bot lane will be the focus now for Cal. They're able to get it, probably pull away after this one as SFU wanting to punish, but Cobb is the one that gets punished immediately. Chain CCs come down, QCS is in a 1v3. Might go down unless he can get some help, and there you go. Dragon Rage kick back from Jhin Soul. He's still gonna make it out. Oh no, he's not. Jhin Soul gets the kill. Millennium Fox got the re-engage though after everything. Stabsies is in there with some decent damage, as well as Issis is just still pushing. Now coming in, uses the Gale Force to drag it over the wall, but that doesn't work. And now you've got to try to just walk into this fight, which is just being tanked up by Rex and Millennium. And this could just be the final push.
This has to be the final push to end it all. You've got 3 members alive by the side of Simon Fraser University, and all and 4 members here by the side of Cal. All the important members to try and finish out a fight and tank it up. They're going after 1 turret. They look for the next, but those 2 cannon minions got a little side.
Yeah, they went for the inhib. Meanwhile, they're losing the fight for Cal, as Baron minions will help out a little bit longer. Jhin Soul still doing well, and Stabsy dies now, and Cal get deflected out of the base by SFU.
Not often do I see just 2 canyon minions decide to just completely diverge paths and go for the inhibitor on the side instead. It kind of that messes up.
They didn't even get it. Wow. Somebody needs to talk to those
those
players, those cannon players.
Cringe cannon minions.
My goodness.
Man. My goodness. Oh my. That,
honestly, I'm thinking a bench is in due.
I don't know. That's kind of tilting, to be honest. It's like, if you're legit cannon minions that you have Baron empowered, should be hitting the turret, and you saw like the rest of like the Golden Bear standing there, just like, all right, where's the damage being dealt to the turret right now? Because we're looking to just try and end this and like close it out. It's not happening. They're not able to push, and the members of Simon Fraser come in and sort of push you back for a little while. So with that whole defense, right, of what I was talking about, of being able to get the double inhibitors and then threaten for the single lane focus onto the bottom side of the map isn't going to happen. You need to do a little bit extra work to try and get there, or you rinse and repeat, try and find a pick, force a 4v5 fight, and then just run straight down this mid lane to look for the sand.
And the fact that, like, they do get a lot of money because the Super Minions porting of the base, does that really matter is the next big question. Because the final piece to the puzzle here for Cal is definitely this bottom lane tower, and you can see everybody's heading down that way.
I'm gonna finish this one up. It's within, the turret is within kill range of a Jhin, or even a LeBlanc, like. Don't see the health bar just yet. Oh, okay, yeah, maybe 1 or 2 shots with a minion there. But you only got that one caster minion that's going to walk up and give it a good slap before the rest of the wave comes into play. So you're looking at this flank, trying to keep that vision open. Oh, double control wards there to make sure they have extra vision there. 20/20 vision on that pinch. Could be a place for Simon Fraser to try and look for a comeback. There's a lot of flashes available. Here comes the fight.
Yeah, Isis is in some trouble here, though. The double cyclone onto him, trying to get away, gets killed on the backside by Ricky, and this is looking like a really good fight from SFU. If they can try and get this backline down, it's not looking likely that SFU are going to lose this one just yet, as the team fights just keep getting turned around, and Millennium Fox now gets dragged back and dies afterwards. Finsol now on a rampage. The turtle prophecy is coming alive for SFU.
And that's that team fight once again. As long as it's the 5v5, SFU has a chance in this game every single time. But Baron, 10 seconds. Kujios is still alive though, so there is the potential to steal. There is potential to threaten this with 2 members. The poking prod at this 3-man. But they got to play very careful. They got to play very close to the chest, because if Cobb catches one of them, if Cobb catches Kujios specifically, this is lights out for UC Berkeley for the next few minutes. Coming in as well from Samson.
Can he steal it here? Cobb is... Oh, he steals it. Oh, that's a nail in the coffin. He'll die afterwards, potentially, though, but Stabsy wants to get him out. Stabsy kills Cobb, and Kuzios gets away from it all. Oh, no, Rex is going in to follow it up as well. The triple pulverize comes in. Isis just wants to get in range for the quadra grenade kill at this point. Feather recall will be there, at least, if they get the re-engage with the Cyclone, but there's the decimating smash, and Samsa is just out of the fight now. It's a 4v2. The last remaining members of SFU are just going to get run and gunned down. They're losing their base this entire time. Gale Force comes in, TPs to seal the deal, and the championship will be won by the University of California at Berkeley. The Golden Bears resurge after losing game number 2 to claim this final of the Western Conference.
That a dominating performance, though rocky, throughout this best of 3 series. UC Berkeley is able to take that win and become the champions of the Western Conference. Very well played from them, but you know, it does not go to show that it was an easy battle to be fought or won at that. Simon Fraser took it to them, not just in game 2 with an absolute stomp, but even in this game 3, they had a team fight composition that at 5-on-5, they won every single time. If it was full on equal heads bashing against each other, it was something that UC Berkeley was struggling with, but they were able to stick to their guns. They got a good early lead this time around once again, and being able to find those advantages to force the 1-3-1 side split focus and prioritize the individual members one by one. That is where UC Berkeley was able to be the more consistent and the stronger communicating team on the day, and that's what makes a champion here. Not just the strength of your players, but also the consistency and how durable the tenacity within them as well to take the win and fight for the trophy.
But I also got to say, Simon Fraser University, I mean, on paper, right, this was supposed to be a 2-0 for UC Berkeley.
Sure.
They have 2 challenger players. The highest on Simon Fraser is Master. That does not matter in collegiate. You saw in game number 2, they wiped the floor with UC Berkeley. And that gives UC Berkeley a lot to think about into the next series, into the rest of the season especially. Yeah. But Simon Fraser should not be upset, at least overall, for their performances, because I do think that they showed a lot of brightness and they showed a lot of strength. So kudos to them. It's unfortunate to fall in the finals like this to UC Berkeley, but they gave them a run for their money for sure.
Oh, definitely. You gotta hold your heads high as it is with that, because Simon Fraser, dominant performance. But to look on to UC Berkeley, this being the grand finals of the Western Conference, it goes to show the strength of this conference region as well, right? Because both these teams going tooth and nail in the game 3, and then also going into sort of pretty much the next year and into preseason as well, is sort of how much are they going to be able to adapt and then to learn going into into those next changes. Because with the timing of what NACE Starleague and the rest of this collegiate season is like, you're in this very fun situation of not having a defined meta for almost like half of the season. Like, yeah, you have like the world's meta to sort of rely on for a little bit, but then bam, preseason hits, bam, next season 12 comes into play, new champions get dropped, and new items get released, and you start to become the sort of proving grounds of meta, and showing not just what your team can do, but also how quickly your team can adapt and change, and sort of how your program can really develop players within such a constantly changing environment.
I think that's the most important thing. We've harped on it all season long, and it's been a long one, but just that growth in programs, just seeing that kind of development over the season, and the fact that it all culminates in something like this, a full best of 3 full of action and wonder across the board. So it's been an awesome start to the day, especially, and we're going to get to talk to one of the UC Berkeley members here very shortly, but it's just been a fun day of League of Legends so far. And honestly, the surprising factor of that turnaround in game number 2 from Simon Fraser, and the fact that this is something we consistently see in the collegiate scene.
It is something we consistently see, and it's not just something we consistently see like in CLOL and sort of like the upper echelons. It's like in this sort of environment specifically, where it's just there is a massive body of teams and players to take from and to pick and choose and to discover those battles within them, and I think that's what makes it so unique with how well they're quickly able to develop these teams, and the program specifically. Because UC Berkeley been looking around, like they've been around for a while as a team and as a program, but it's something where in these kind of situations, like you're always looking for that next step. So when it comes down to what not just the players are looking for, what their goal is in that, but also what the rest of the program is trying to look for. If they want to become not just national champions, but an international or continental champions, looking for that North American crown, and so on, is what you have to be really driving for when it comes to hitting the season of 2022.
Yeah, it is always interesting. I do believe we are going to be ready for our interview. Okay. So, Coco, we got to talk for a minute. Because every 180 seconds, someone is diagnosed with a blood cancer. And 40% of all pediatric cancers are blood cancers. Every blood cancer diagnosis turns lives upside down. And when this happens, the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, LLS, is here to help. Since 1949, LLS has invested more than $1.3 billion in research, pioneering many of today's most innovative approaches. They work tirelessly to find cures and ensure patients can access the life-saving treatments that they need. When someone experiences the fear and uncertainty of a cancer diagnosis, LLS provides hope, compassion, education, and most of all, support. So just like LLS is making an impact in the cancer community, the LLS Hero of the Game represents the player who made the biggest impact in the match played. Whether it be a clutch play, a sacrifice, or provided strong leadership when it mattered most, today's LLS Hero of the Game is going to be Millennium Fox, joining us here now on the desk. Millennium Fox, my man, the Scion Wonder. How does it feel to claim a grand championship, a grand final in the West Conference?
Feels great. I think that we put a lot of work to get here, and I'm happy that we won it.
Hey, I like it. And the way that you got to do it, in fact. I do have to ask one little question, a little negative point. What happened game 2? What happened? Game 1, you guys were driving along. You were cruise controlling down the highway. But game 2 seemed to come across something a little bit different.
Yeah, the early game went south when we tried to go for a red buff invade after seeing that they were bot side. Like, we didn't have the correct information. And then the bot crab fight, we kind of just mis-executed. And that just made the game hard from there on. Yeah.
Now, what did you pull away from that, though, as a squad? I mean, obviously, the bounce back in Game 3 was huge, but, like, what was the communication after that game?
I think the communication was just to play more standard, to not go for maybe the risky red play. And then we also got to choose side selection the third game, so red side is more of a comfort for us. And after, like, having a smoother early game, it was just much easier to pilot the third game.
Very well done. Well, sort of spanning out into a bigger picture here, now picking up the becoming the winners of the Western Conference here in the NACE Starleague. What's the next step for you as a player, and maybe even more for the program there at CU Berkeley as we head on into the winter and into the new year?
Yeah, so we're definitely trying to place at least top 4 in the playoffs. And I guess for myself as a player is to figure out the new meta when the season ticks over. So I know preseason is going to be a mess. And other than that, we're also preparing for ULOL, and that will be a good experience to play against some of the other schools too.
I like that a lot. I do. Now, I do got to ask you about the Scion a little bit. Looked real confident on that big game 1 and 3. Obviously was able to get you the dub, but what was your mindset going into this top matchup here today with all the volatility the rest of the map kind of had? What was it like for you going into it specifically?
Yeah, so I just enjoy playing Scion as a pick because I'm very comfortable with the champion, and especially those matchups for if I get counterpick. And I just know that I'll be able to get laden prio, and then once I tick 6, I just press my R, and then I can go anywhere on the map. So it's a champion that can
Makes it easy.
both, get those solo kills, and then also just impact the map, which is why I like to play it a lot. And it's also relatively easy to play.
There you go. The ease of execution definitely helps out for sure. I got one last thing for you, Millennium Fox. First of all, your name is amazing. But second of all, do you have any shout outs? Anybody you want to talk about here before we let you go?
Yeah, I guess I'd like to shout out the rest of my teammates, and especially our coaches, Revered and Apollo and Rafflecopter. They helped us a lot. They also did a VOD review of SFU and decided all our pick bans for us, so that was great.
Nice.
And yeah, shout outs to the entire program too. Go Bears.
I love it. Go Bears. Thank you so much, Millennium Fox. Go celebrate with the team or go celebrate yourself, whichever one you do, and have fun with it. Great job today, and we'll see you next time.
All right, thank you.
All right, everyone. Well, we're through our first series of the evening, and what a fun one it was, Coco.
Yeah, it was a banger, absolutely back and forth between the first and second seed of the Western Conference. But just because we're closing up on the west side, we have to check in somewhere else. We have to go up a little bit north and check up on our boys in the Canadian provinces with Toronto versus McMaster coming up.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Both those universities going up against each other in the U Sports Gaming League of Legends JV Final. We're going to step away for a short little break, but we will be right back with some more action.